Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, May 14th, 2:04 p.m., and I am calling the Budget Committee of the Memphis City Council to order. Ms. Mauricio, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Dr. Warren. Present. Chair Carlisle.
Present. Chair observes a quorum. Dr. Warren, you'll be pleased to know that we've got 5 items on today's hearing schedule, beginning with information technology. And I see Chief Keene here. That's right, driving forth. As Chief McGowan used to say, we are going to bring the city of Memphis into the 21st century. All right. Chief Keene, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. Again, my name is Eric Keene, Chief Information Officer. What's my address again? I guess 150 Peabody Place. I'll get that by next year, I promise. So next slide. That's working better? Okay, so not a lot of time on this slide. I think you probably get it, but I do want to call out 3 things. One, we've got great help from HR and finance, which is important to us. You know, hiring good people, finding the right level of talent, being able to develop people from an entry level on up. On the finance side, you know, we have a complex department, and a lot of our contracts are very technical, software-oriented, cloud-oriented. So the skills we get from Ms. Alfreda and her team are incredibly important. And on the right, something that surprised me a year ago that I called out was that the IT team, the city IT team, owns the full stack. So that's good. When I first took this position, I was worried that some things would be outsourced or not owned by us, but we own the whole thing. And we've got a great team. I want to call them out. I mean, truly impressive. Next. Our budget priorities for next year, I'll read them here and I'll cover them a little bit later, but the key priorities are smart city infrastructure enhancement, and we've been on that journey now for about 14, 15 months. I think you've seen the progress with camera mesh, with the command center, with other areas, a data platform for AI and advanced analytics. You asked just 2 days ago about AI. So a big part of preparation for AI is having your data in one place that you can trust. And we're working hard to make that happen. I do want to call out that we do use AI. In the 911 systems, we're using AI for voice translation, for background noise, for recognition of different sounds. But in 911 space, it's a tool for the experts that man that command center. In the 311 space, we're going to try to use AI as much as we possibly can. From the beginning, if you will, of the request, whether that's from a resident or from a device, to the conclusion of the actual work request. Cybersecurity modernization is an important task for us and my team. We've got a great team in that regard. We leverage a lot of expertise, as you know, from our round robin sessions from FedEx. We get kind of no BS answers from FedEx on what works, what doesn't work, what you should spend money on, what you should not spend money on. This is a constant battle. And we do internal testing that you see sometimes in the form of email challenges, but we also have companies come in and try to attack our network and tell us how that's holding up. And then the last one is continuous improvement in the 311 reporting platform. We've also have added to the operating budget this year, as you asked about a couple weeks ago, money to replace the middle of that 311 system, which is called the work order management flow. And that aspect of the platform is probably 10 to 11 years old and written on software that's out of date and not supported, so an important effort for us. Next, nothing to call out here other than our budget is about $300,000 lower than last year. And I'm not complaining per se, but I do want to call out that a lot of our budget is dedicated towards software licenses, and that's good. We started the march to centralize licensing and use software as a service in the cloud probably 2 years ago under Augustine's initiatives, and that's the right way to go. But in the short term, that inflates an IT operating budget. You know, you get questions from your bosses about that. But in the long term, we get much more modern technology. We don't have to have our own data centers. We don't have the people monitoring that data center, patching equipment, patching software, if you will. So just going to call that out. I think we probably need to do a better story talking about SaaS, software as a service, you know, over the next few months, but it is the way to go. We do not want to have our own data center with applications kind of everywhere doing this or that. We want to leverage the most modern technology because it does more, but also because these companies are moving towards an AI platform. You know, they're building things into their software that we want to use, and we don't want to try to decode that ourselves, take advantage of that. You know, we want to be in a, you know, configure, validate, and deploy mode for software. Next. Again, I probably just talked about this, but the increase or the pressure is really on software as a service, the licensing. You know, so that, just to kind of, you know, refresh you, that's ServiceNow, Microsoft, UKG, Oracle, all those best-in-breed SaaS stacks that we use, which are adding a lot of value. But it does, again, put pressure on that SaaS budget. The other challenge we have is that, you know, when the operating budget gets squeezed like that, the first thing to go really are our contractors. And we have kind of an 80-20 model where 80% of our team, we try hard to have them as internal hires, people that are motivated and skilled, but we have to have the ability to go out and find 20% or 21%, whatever the number may be, of people that really know the technical side of Oracle or UKG. So when, you know, when the squeeze happens, if you will, it's the contractors that go, and I just want to call that out. We don't take risk unnecessarily. We wouldn't go to 0 people supporting Oracle or 0 people supporting the tax and treasury system, but we do get kind of thin. So just want to call that out again. That's not a complaint, just a reality. Next. We manage the budget well. I think this is one of the best teams I've had in 30 years in terms of managing the budget. We try to land the budget on the aircraft carrier. Not too short, not too long. Too long, you get in trouble. Too short, people take it away. So I think you probably understand that. And I think we do a great job of piloting our roles and landing on that aircraft carrier. We also take a very strong, you know, influence or direction with architecture. You know, with the science of computer science, trying to build a City of Memphis stack, whether it's for the website or for HR or for finance, that's modern and connected and in control. You know, in control meaning it's protected, but also we understand, you know, when things go wrong, how to resolve those and fix those issues. And again, the IT team, much to my delight, is a full-stop shop. And so that is really good for the City of Memphis. I mean, you don't have people, you know, owning things that are outside of our control. Next slide. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. The 2 metrics that are down, average call handling, probably related to the Windows 11 upgrade going on, taking more time, as you might imagine, to change out somebody's, you know, operating system. It's a whole new look and feel. And then the last one would be security incidents prevented. We're strong. I don't want to give the impression that we're not. I think the downturn is probably from actual penetration tests that we asked for. So that's a good thing that we're seeing that and able to patch that up. Next slide. I talked about this at the very beginning, you know, a couple, you know, more deep dives or shorter deep dives. You know, a lot of our budget, you know, relatively speaking, is going to go towards that AI advanced analytics platform. So we started that out last year with the budget you gave me, building out an Azure data warehouse. Again, we have a lot of expertise from FedEx, knowing exactly how to do this, and also the finances of a cloud data warehouse. You can spend a lot of money on a cloud service that you don't need to do, or buy things that you don't need. We've got a great team, you know, in that area. AI readiness, just for the whole council, is top of our minds. We will be doing some AI readiness surveys and different types of inventories, if you will, to understand where we are. I would say in terms of AI readiness for the city, we're probably pretty much at the just before crawl stage. You know, crawl, walk, and run. And that's not out of line with other cities, but technology-wise, we are aggregating that data, as I've talked about, you know, having an architected stack so that we know at some point in time the data we do use to generate AI will be true, a single source of information, and it'll be clean. And that's really, really key. We also understand, you know, where we want to ground AI applications. And grounding means how do you go out to the internet, or do you not go to the internet? Do you use something different for legal versus, HR? So a lot of thought going into that, and I'm happy, as I mentioned a couple days ago, to talk more about that in the future. Second area is smart city infrastructure. This is around our .com presence, our video management system, information security, our graphical information systems, which are really key to all that we do. That's the mapping, if you will. And the whole goal of these advances is for one Memphis. I get that question every once in a while. Are you doing things more downtown than elsewhere? And the answer is no. We're looking at one Memphis. Now, we did put some emphasis on 60 cameras last 4 or 5 months downtown for a reason, but the whole goal is to develop this for the entire city. Next. The third one is continuous improvement in the 311 system. So continuous improvement means keeping it clean, working on the data, connecting the gaps that exist right now between the different division requests, if you will, or citizen requests to the actual completion of the request. And again, we're working with an aging system, so continuous improvement is what it sounds like. But we did get a budget this year to replace the guts or the central part of that 311 system. We're going to leverage best-in-class technology. We've done tons of research the last 6 months, so we're confident in our direction. We also will launch something called QDM with the 311 program. And QDM is a quality-driven management program from FedEx. They've offered a royalty-free license to the city of Memphis. They want to partner with us. It is a mini lean program to help every employee focus on cost, revenue, and customer experience. It gives you common tools, common language, a common project methodology. And at FedEx, I can tell you for 10 years, I was the SVP champion, and having teams all around the world that spoke not only different languages, but used different tools for project management, it made a gigantic difference. So this is a huge, huge win for us, and we hope to be rolling that out pretty soon. Next. Last but not least, challenges and risk. Nothing's out of control. Our challenges are probably like the other divisions, finding the right people, keeping the right people, using what you have efficiently, using the licenses that you have efficiently, building out a infrastructure and technology stack that's not just modern, but, does things the right way for our employees and for our citizens. So nothing's out of control. I think we've got a lot of progress, a lot of momentum last year, and that's it.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, I would say that you're, for me, about as close to general services as it gets as far as systemic inheritance of legacy assets and issues to work through. And not all the way, just meaning the city as a whole in the past has not put an emphasis in this division. And you also are responsible as almost you've got the basic day-to-day functions of managing the internal IT of the city, and then our business and consumer side in 311, communicate, just all the other things that we're doing. And it's on a shoestring budget, especially with how the shift in technology is occurring, right? I don't envy you like Director Jamerson, but I'm very appreciative to have you here. I guess for me, I'll start just kind of with 311, and I don't want to get on a 311 dumb show either. I really just want to understand from a budgetary standpoint. You mentioned the guts, and I guess I don't understand the system as much. How do we ultimately get to a point where, and I think I raised this when we first had your confirmation hearing or there right after, but from where I sit, having limited interactions with it on purpose at this point, the B2B side I get. We have a customer that sees a pothole, they enter the ticket is originated, the ticket gets distributed, and it goes to where the work order goes. Great. Enterprise system, we all get that. It's the B2C side that we suck at, because it is the most confusing thing, and I know everybody that's ever worked around it or in it or used it feels that, because every week I have to explain about how the ticketing system works. And it seems like a simple fix. I know it is never that way, having worked with enterprise systems in the POS side of things, in the back of house inventory and labor side. I guess my question to you is when can we get to what I would effectively call 311 point, I think we'd be at 3.0 at this point, maybe 4.0. And I would call that the almost final version, so to speak, of like, okay, we now have something that is built for the consumer, for constituents on their side, and we've got something built for the engineers on the B2B side or the internal side. What does that rollout in your mind look for? And we can talk generally, you can talk generally, but what does that rollout for you and getting to where we feel like 311 is the effective system that we are really looking for? And what does that funding look like to get you there? Yeah, I'll leave it at that. And we can talk again in generalities if we need to.
Well, we're, first of all, kind of, to use an expression, probably not the greatest expression, putting a little bit of lipstick, if you will. And that starts with the web presence and mobile presence that our residents see. So that's happening. We've internalized our web developers. So I think you'll actually see a new 311 face right now that looks completely different than it did, even 2 or 3 months ago. The second step is really leveraging a best-in-class, technology. We've got a couple in mind where we know it works in other cities, and we know that it's a closed loop. We also know that it can work with something like Acela. So different divisions have gone out and tried to modernize their space, which is good. But what's not good is when people modernize, kind of randomly, not through a central architecture, if you will. So what we're looking at is best-in-class technology that will leverage what we purchased already for the B2B side, but also that gives us much more user-friendly, mobile, AI-enabled, chatbot, self-service capabilities for our residents. We'll also leverage technology. So right now, we've got a few cameras out looking for potholes. I don't know the number. I'm not trying to say that's negative, but we can make that 1,000 fairly easily. We've got cameras on a lot of vehicles. There is also drone technology that allows you, with a relatively low-cost drone, to do mapping over a city, that does a software-defined course, that puts things in a direct database, that's incredibly accurate, incredibly intelligent, if you will, that kind of feeds an automated process into 311. So time-wise, we're putting that lipstick on. I think you can see some more beauty from the 311 system that you saw just a few months ago. But we hope to get into putting in different capabilities around the August, September timeframe. And again, kind of frankly, with the start of the new budget in July.
That's fantastic. The only other thing, and honestly, this is I've got to come see you. I've got to come see some of your directors, because it's just a meatier conversation that I probably don't want to sound so illiterate in, that I want to have it offline. But on the Oracle, from not a payroll standpoint, and we've got HR later today, but if memory serves me, we were rolling out a payroll. We were rolling a back of house integration in our labor and payroll system probably 24 months ago, 36 months ago. Is that right-ish? Yeah. And it was effectively, and we were piloting some AI technologies for time clocks, et cetera, and basically just trying to find better opportunities for controls. Is that system fully integrated and rolled out? And if not, I would rather have that conversation offline, because it can go weird places in City Hall.
Well, the good news is we are funded so far to put our on-prem Oracle infrastructure into the cloud with the rest of the suite.
Okay.
So that's best in class. There's very few companies right now that would have half of their Oracle, which is critical to HR, to finance, running in a data center, at the library, and the other half in the cloud. So we are funded to move that all into an Oracle cloud infrastructure. And at that point, it'll all be in one bucket. And those things you want to do with AI then are much more easy. Right now, we're having to synchronize lots of data between two different systems, and there's a lag, and that's just incredibly inefficient. So that is actually, well funded. We've got some great people on the team, on the Oracle side of things. So I think you'll see a lot of improvement and a lot of quick momentum in that space within the new fiscal year.
Perfect. Well, I wish I could ask more questions, but I have to have some level of knowledge in order to ask a decent question, and that's about the depth of my information technology skill set. So I'll leave it there. Any other colleagues with questions or comments for Chief Keen? All right, real quick, I want to recognize Councilwoman Walker and Vice Chairwoman Swearingen Washington are here and have joined us. Yes, ma'am. Chief Keen, thank you. Thank you for the work you guys are doing. It is, like I said, IT has come so far. The Budget Committee of the City Council is called back into order. It is 2:27 p.m. I'd like to recognize Councilman Spinoza is here as well. And the floor is yours.
All right, let's do this. Marsha Allen, Interim Director, Memphis Parks, 2599 Avery. And so I'll just start. As Community Engagement Administrator, when I came in 6 years ago, I never started a presentation without talking about all the stuff that we have in parks. And so I feel like I should do that now. So just to let you know, we have 162 parks, 24 community centers, 5 senior centers, 1 specialty center, which is Raymond Skinner, 16 pools, 4 of them are indoor that we operate year round, 7 splash pads, 2 dog parks, 2 skate parks. We have 45 permittable multi-use sports spaces. So we operate and manage over 5,000 acres of green space. And so that is a lot of stuff. So going back to the org chart, the biggest difference and the change that you'll see is the managed properties. We created a legal level for the managed properties. We really wanted to see how our managed partners and their fees affected our budget. So that was us kind of right sizing and making sure that they're in a legal level of their own. You will still see museums, the zoo and botanic having a legal level, but that is because we offer them additional support in other areas. Two, that we directly manage and operate. Our authorized complement, of course, the largest full-time is in centers. Our customer facing, we have 30 community centers, senior centers, we just talked about that. Followed by park operations, our next highest, largest full-time complement. And then you'll also see an administration where it looks like we got a little bit of an increase in full-time staff, but that's because we moved the remaining employees from the museums service center. We repurposed those positions when we went away from having MOSH and MMI report under us. We separated them from the city. So we repurposed a few of those positions and put them in admin. So our total complement is 270. There is no change from last fiscal year to this year's complement. Looking at our budget breakdown and the spend that we have, 47% of it is personnel, 36% is materials and supplies, and then if you look at the next two categories, which total 16%, those are the managed partner fees, and those are the managed partner fees only. So our key budget priorities, of course, first and foremost is youth and young adult programming, which includes our recreational programming, which is the softballs, the soccers, flag football, any of the sports things that we can duplicate and replicate across the city for a fairly low cost. Player Park, PYP, Family Fun Fridays is something that the entire city has come to love. That is some programming that we will have. We'll reduce it down a little bit this year. We'll only have 7, 1 in each district. But we're looking at interesting ways to partner with the community and other organizations to make sure that we can still have the reach, and we want it to be a mutual benefit for the partner that we're bringing in for it. And so that's one of the things that we'll kind of do differently this year for Player Park. Let's see, swim lessons. We talk, I kind of talk about swim lessons all the time and us growing lifeguards. There is a lifeguard shortage nationwide. So when we talk about youth and young adult programming, we have got to get kids into the water. I tell people 3 of my 4 children are on a swim team, and in a few years, we will have some lifeguards because they will be city lifeguards. But we really want to focus on water safety. We're partnering with Kids Shine and Mid-South Splash, Le Bonheur. We want water safety. We want more swim lessons just to get kids and youth in the area comfortable with water and to be strong swimmers. With our youth and young adult programming, I'm spending a little bit of time on this slide because I think it's important for us to understand how we are shifting in parks to make sure we can still offer some of the special events like Liberty for All that we've had 4 years and 4th year coming up now. And we as parks we have committed to making that a really big event. It's in the center of the city. It's the fireworks show. We will spend our allotted amount for Liberty for All, but other things like Teen Fest, we're gonna partner with Office of Youth Services just to bridge the gap and to break down some of the silos and really work together and joining our workforces and the money together to make our reach and our impact much larger. Moving on to clean and attractive neighborhoods, that is one of the mayor's priorities. So we want clean and attractive parks. We have people coming in and out of community centers all day, sometimes all night, but we have 100% of people that drive by a park if you're in this city or you walk by a park. And so we need for those to be clean and attractive. Supporting our cultural assets, almost 25% of our budget goes to supporting our managed partners with their fees and other support that we have. And then another key priority for us is developing a revenue strategy. All right, right, so we can kind of fly through this slide a little bit. The biggest changes are related to our managed partners. So in our grants and subsidies line, you'll see a $2.63 million increase, and that is the entire MRPP management fee. And then if it is in the grants and subsidies line, and so last year,
But why is it there now? It's not a grant.
so last year it was in executive in that same line, and when they put it over into parks, they put it in the same line. We are gonna work this year to move it.
How about we just do it now?
Yeah.
Like, why would we, what do you mean work? Guys, I said this on the record. I haven't read the agreement in a couple years, but at the end of the day, it is a professional services management agreement. It cannot be treated as a grant. That's not what it is by contract. So just rebook it. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I don't see that number.
So if you go to page number 6 and you go grant and subsidies and track all the way down to fiscal year proposed, you'll see $2,634,150. And that is the amount that the administration's proposing to fund the partial agreement with MRPP.
Yes,
She said something about 6 million.
I said 2.6.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a-
2.63.
Yeah.
Point of information. Is that what the contract says?
That's not that improper motion. We're gonna get there.
I'm just
We're-
wondering, that's the point of information.
you-
It wasn't a motion, I just was asking.
I know, but that's more of a question. That a point of information is more of a repeat that or what's the data versus an inquiry, which,
What's the data?
yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Hang tight. First, let's clean up the accounting feature.
Okay.
It's a management agreement.
Okay.
Like,
Noted. Got that.
it is.
All right, so
All right.
we'll get that moved into the managed properties legal level this year, and or
I mean, unless I miss the agreement, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. Just I'm a stickler at this point that we get the accounting right. I know Walter is, but it just cannot be treated as a grant because it's not. Like that's it. Again, I don't want to. Well, that's all I can say at this point because I don't want to step into something that may have potential litigation. But
okay.
all right, let's move on.
All right.
Yeah, let's move
So
on.
the next large jump you'll see in service charges is the $5.5 million. Those are the rest of the managed fees. So when we moved it to the managed partners legal level, that is where that lands. So most of our changes that are on this slide are related to our managed partners and how we move things around. And so I do want to talk a little bit about cost recovery because that is one of our drivers and one of our things that we want to look at this year. So the national average for a park system cost recovery is about 26%. We, Memphis Parks, we're at 19%. We're not bad, but we're not great either. And there is room where we can grow and move that needle a little bit with some cost recovery. I do want to call out a couple of things. Like Liberty Park, our proposed revenue that we'll bring in for them is 1.8 million, but the way that Liberty Park and OVG operates is the ideal situation for me for a managed partner because we don't write them a check outright. What they do is they're responsible for renting the spaces and having events out at Liberty Park, Tiger Lane, the Pipkin Building, things like that, and they bring in and they generate revenue. They take their fee from that, and then the remaining, they maintain the green space, and then they do some maintenance on the deferred maintenance on some of the buildings that we have out at Liberty Park. So that is an ideal thing. And I know in our round robins, we talked a little bit about golf and the revenue there. Right now, we are proposing 86% cost recovery for golf. So when you start thinking about the brand new Audubon course, the brand new driving range, Galloway is a beautiful course that gets a lot of rounds. Pine Hill is a brand new course. We are bringing in quite a bit of revenue, but the city still subsidizes golf to the tune of about $2 million. So 86% cost recovery is really good for our golf legal level.
And I just stipulate on that. That's because we allow such a generous offering to our constituents. We could easily make that up if we wanted to, but we allow broad access to that sport.
Yes, sir. All right, some of our budget drivers, utilities. I know you all have heard about utilities, but Parks probably has more buildings than most other divisions. So 11% of our budget will be used to pay utilities. We have seen inflation costs just rise. So contracts that we have for professional services and supplies, they're steadily increasing, even for things like laptops and tools that we need just to do our daily jobs. And again, I'll talk about the support of our cultural assets via the management fees. We want our managed partners to be successful. We want them to be set up to do what it is that they do and serve the population that they serve. And with that being successful, it allows them to go out and pull in revenue, charge for things, and they do what they will with the revenue that they bring in. And personnel, of course, is another key driver. FY25, all of the park staff, all of the city had a salary increase, and as well as the union. And so we have ASME and IUOE, all the vowels except for A and sometimes Y. Sorry, I do that all the time. We have those that live in our personnel. So we do have to consider those things as drivers to our budget. A key accomplishment that I do want to talk about, it says FY24, but that's when we started the process of CAPRA accreditation. We are CAPRA accredited. And so what that means is that we are a national standard for best practices in park system. This actually helps us to secure grants and other philanthropic dollars. So when you have 12 different applicants for one grant and we're all neck for neck, our gold star will be our CAPRA accreditation. There are 214 accredited agencies in the U.S. Parks is one of them. There are only 3 in Tennessee: Germantown, Clarksville, and Memphis Parks. So fun fact and really quick story. Amy Collier, right here, interim deputy director, has been involved with all 3 of these cities. She was born in Clarksville. Long time ago. She doesn't want to mention this, but she worked for Germantown Parks. And now she works for Memphis Parks, so she may be the common denominator for accreditation. I thought that was kind of, I know, I kind of thought that when I was like, wait a minute, Amy, you're involved in all 3 of these. So when we go to the next slide, these are things that we simply need to do the work that we do every day. So I have a list of them. Park operations, I could go on and on about like what we need to do our jobs and how we need it and how everything has gone up. I just want to give a shout out to our park operations crew because they show up for everybody, and our urban forestry maintenance crew. Let's see what else is a big driver on here. Alarms. I have a star by this one. Alarm system. So in our administration budget, we have been tasked with updating all of our alarm and burglary systems in our buildings. 2-3 years ago, a well-known company up and left Tennessee, and so we had to do a phased approach to change out our fire suppression, burglary systems, all of that. They are super expensive to do in all of our buildings. So we're in phase 3 of 4. And so some of that has come out of our operating budget. And then so moving on and just talking about the key performance indicators, we want to make sure that what we do, we're being reliable, we're able to reach citizens, but even with reaching citizens, want that quality of the reach to be a good and positive experience. We really want to look at our MO cycle and what we do in parks for FY 24 and 25. The percentages are a little low, but they're rising. We're on a 17-day cut cycle. No one in this room will cut their grass at their home on 17 days, but that is what we're funded for, and that's what we're doing. And we're using software, Cartograph, to make sure that we can schedule. We use all of our materials and our people and human capital as effectively and as efficient as we possibly can to get that number to go up from 62% of all of our parks being cut on a 17-day cycle to maybe 75% of them being cut on a 17-day cycle. Attendance, we were only looking at community center attendance, but in the future, we will use AI, and we have been using AI to count all activities. On the inside of our buildings, we use a membership system called RecDesk, and in our golf clubhouses, we are using 10-4, and outside, we will use a different AI system to count all the people that come in and benefit from that. Customer interaction, I'm really proud of this one. In FY23, we did a baseline, and only 58% of the people that left a community center or an event had a positive interaction. We heavily invested in customer service training and professional development for all staff. And we use secret shoppers to come in and do surveys on our staff. And I am proud to say that this year we are at 86% of positivity rating. We can stand to go up, but that is simply amazing to show like what we've invested in and how we've improved the numbers. So I'm gonna kind of breeze through some of this because I talked about some of this already. So our cost recovery plan that we wanna do, it strengthens our financial stability. Definitely want to partner with other people and really focus on sponsorships and grants for a lot of, for some of our programming. Meeting on common ground, we want to improve our messaging that we give to the public. We want them to know what it is we offer. Majority of our stuff is free, and people don't know that we're doing it. So we are really doing a targeted effort to make sure that we market. We're using communications and our social media to get that out. We will do a youth advisory board. So the Youth Advisory Board will kind of guide some of the programming decisions that we have. And a big thing is our Parks Playbook, which is the update of our master plan. And so for park operations, we'll breeze through some of these, but we're bringing on 3 new parks this year. So it'll be Kennedy Park, Baber Park. Those 2 parks will finally reopen, and we're taking on a new space, the Heights Line, which is a linear park. Next slide. For community centers, we are going to start using our community centers and partnering with community organizations so we can allow the community to really have resources. Things like community services agencies with Shelby County, they can come in and provide resources to the residents in the area. So they have a space, because we have space, we pay the utilities. Why not have the service inside of the community center where the community can walk or can easily get to those services? So we want to do a lot of that moving forward, just to utilize our space. Senior centers, we kind of talked about making it welcoming. Golf, 2 big things on this golf one. We want to make sure that the game of golf continues to grow. So we are strengthening our partnership with the First Tee and the Tennessee Golf Foundation. But one thing that the golf administrator is really excited about is implementing beginner golf clinics. Councilwoman Green, he heard you loud and clear. So he heard you loud and clear. So we are doing beginner golf clinics, and they have a sliding scale all the way down to $10 for the clinic. So you were heard, and so that is something that we will be doing this year. but we recover 86%. So there we go.
And that's where deals are made, is what I hear about golf courses. So we
it
want
is.
everyone to have access to
We
them.
want it to be inclusive. That is exactly what we want. And so with recreation, kind of talked about a little bit of this, partnering with Kia Shine and the Aquatism program, water safety all around. PYP, they're doing some new and fun things that we'll be seeking sponsorships for. Health and wellness, I am a public health rock star from my past life, and so this one is really exciting to me because we want to make sure we get children, youth back outside being active in recreation and health and wellness. From the Parks Ad Hoc Committee, from the next slide, this is one thing that kept getting repeated, even in last council year. And I have to give a shout out to Mr. Kent because he talked about financial reports over and over and over and over. And so one of the things when we're walking into the new fiscal year, we will require our managed partners to provide us with quarterly financials and service reports. When they have 25% of our budget, we should be able to see into what services they're offering. So this will provide improved transparency for the division, for council. So with that, let's see. We've talked about all of these things that are on here, and we will look at creatively scheduling during our prime hours for our aquatic facilities, our community centers. One of the things that I did want to do when we started the budget cycle was get that cut cycle down to 14 days. That's just not possible with what we have now, but our litter abatement, our team for that, we're really good. We're at 3 days for clearing litter out of parks, so that is pretty good. We'll refine some of our program offerings because honestly, we do need to sunset some programs, but our Youth Advisory Council and our Parks Playbook will guide what we bring on and what trends we follow moving forward. And golf revenues will remain flat. We will not increase those prices this year. We do want to make sure that golf is a game that everyone could afford to play. And then the last thing I'll say is we are the best in green, and we will be here to serve the community.
Thank you. Well done. All right. I don't think I had, okay. I had one question and then I'm gonna go to the queue. On slide 4, you make the note, I guess this is for Chief Person because it's an accounting thing. Well, it's both for both chiefs. Why not just go ahead and cut and make the footnote instead of unfund them? I mean, it's just a paperwork thing. I just mainly out of curiosity, we've got the 12, you have a footnote that says Memphis Parks will unfund 12 positions in FY26, but we're gonna retain them on paper because we want them there just in case we refund them. Yeah.
So I can answer
Yeah,
that.
hit it.
No, I do want to keep.
Let Chief first.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So, no, you go ahead. Yeah. So, Chair, comments noted, and you're exactly right. They will remain unfunded vacancies.
Which is fine. I was just
and then
curious
we'll
why the
move
decision
forward.
to keep, I was just curious why you kept them versus just say, hey, we may
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah.
I just hadn't seen it before.
Yes, sir.
Well, and to the chief's point, I think the biggest reason was the hope would be that in better times they would remain available. And that's what the Inland Parks Director was speaking to.
You know, I mean, I get the philosophy. I just didn't know why I got it's aspirational at this point. Got it.
Yes, sir.
I hear you.
That's the exact term.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Should be used.
Thank you, Drew. All right, here we go. I've got real quick some housekeeping on my side. Let the record reflect. We've got Councilwoman Green, Dr. Easter Thomas, Chairman Canali, Councilwoman Logan are present. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. Oh, thank you for being here. All right, I'm going to the queue. I've got Vice Chairwoman Swearingen Washington.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Excuse me, Chair.
You never know. It could be a Saturday.
No. I was looking at the CIP budget on the first page of the CIP, and I see that for the 2027 projection, there is an indoor aquatics facility We just wanted to, for record, what plan is that location?
So we have a couple of different options working. The plan, we are looking to purchase some land to make Glenview a location, but there are 2 other locations if the land purchase does not happen.
You said what?
So we are in the process of purchasing land. So we have to get that piece of land. We talked about, and I showed you the piece of land. I've got to get that land in order to make an aquatic facility work at Glenview.
Okay. So what are we doing to make sure
Glenview.
that happens?
So we will be bringing, we have real estate that's actually negotiating on our behalf, the acquisition. And so once we get a set price, we'll bring it back to you all for the permission to move forward.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am. But Glenview is the location.
okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair JSW. Dr. Warren, now's the time. Sorry, then thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few questions. I think Councilman Carlisle brought up that we did have a contract, a management contract, and I'm wondering why we're treating that as a grant.
Walter Person again, 125 North Main. I probably didn't properly identify myself the last time, so I want to make sure I corrected that. So we made several moves over the course of the budget season, which we talked about a little bit during the budget overview, but many of the managed partner agreements in parks were moved in a category called service charges, and MRPP was moved from executive to parks. I think there was a lack of a good landing spot, so we ended up putting them in grants and subsidies because, and it may have been an erroneous view, it was treated as funds that were flowing out to support the managed partner. But we're more than happy to reclass that in another category within the Parks Division.
As I'm looking at that, though, if you have a management contract, it says the amount of money that you're paying them. So is that the amount that you're proposing? That's the amount that was in the managed contract?
Yes, sir. We're proposing to pay 2.6 million, a little over $2.6 million.
And what was
to
the
MRPP.
managed contract the year before?
It was $3,099,000.
Okay, and the reason that we're changing that is what? Are we having less grass to mow and less things to go on down there?
The reason we're changing the all of our managed partners took a cut for us to stay within budget. So last year, we took a cut across our M&S, and so all of our managed partners took a cut last year, and this year is the same.
So when you're looking at Liberty Park, that went from $675,000 to $1,800,000. That's a cut?
So no, that's not, that's revenue that they're bringing in.
It's revenue that they're bringing.
Yes, sir.
And that's revenue that they're keeping?
No, they maintain Tiger Lane, the parking lot over there at Liberty Park.
So we're cutting all of the managed partners by the same percentage.
We're cutting all of the
So we're
managed
cutting the
partners by
zoo?
10%, and then MRPP was 15%. We did not cut them at all last year. They received their full amount.
See, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work, though. What we're trying to do is keep a balanced budget and keep it flat, and then we cut them. We're cutting their budget too. So I'm wondering if, gas has gone up, water costs have gone up, all the stuff that we're putting into the golf course has gone up. We're keeping that flat, okay? And, it doesn't seem to me like we're thinking, like all these other, that's 25% of what we do. We have a ton of people go to the zoo. A ton of people go to the Brooks. A ton of people go to the Mosh. A ton of people do that. So it's not like there's not us. They're not the park division. So are you going to cut the rest of the parks 15%? I mean, have you done that? I mean,
yes, sir. When we worked through our budget, every legal level, every service center had to make operational changes because of the inflation and because of things that are going on. So it's not just
so we're
MRPP.
having 15% less service this year everywhere.
And that's why we're looking for sponsorships, and we're working with partners, and we're reaching across the city to other divisions to partner to greaten our impact for parks and the programs that we offer and
I
the
think
services.
if we look at that, if we didn't have these organizations doing this thing, how much more would it cost us to do those services?
We don't want to do the services. We want to support them. And in supporting them, the management fee that was proposed is what we feel we can do. And that was, the management fees are 16%, but then we support them in other ways. So we pay utilities for
Yeah,
some.
I'm going to step in on that. All right, I'll step in. Chief Adams, I'll let you get a chance to talk more globally. But
you're going to address what I was.
Maybe. I think for me, I will say again, I have not read the agreement in a couple years. Almost every management agreement, to the defense of the administration on one hand, the management agreements stipulate basically based on funding approved by the body. And we're protected that way in almost every contract. So I do want to stipulate that as an option for proposal. I also want to remind the body that this is a proposal from the mayor and not a ratified budget. And so the authority on what to do with that management agreement funding still rests with 7 votes on this side of the dais. I will say, though, to the point, you cannot go back and renegotiate a deal that's stipulated. The shared services and in-kind contributions do not count. That is not what's stipulated as accretive to their fee, meaning you don't get to say, I'm going to pay you $3 million in cash up front, and we're going to pick up X, Y, and Z for you, and then come back and say later, you know what, X, Y, and Z cost me $300,000 a year, so now it's $2.7 million and $300,000. That's just, we can't do business that way. So for me, I want to clean that up. If the administration, and it is within their right, and you're right as the director to recommend, if you get an edict from the mayor and the chief that says you need to look for cuts and propose them, you are well within your right to propose those cuts, as is the administration and the mayor. That being said, you cannot propose those cuts and then take the position that is in direct contradiction of what the management agreement says as you're in round. It's basically, we made a decision that we're gonna make these cuts and propose them to the council. That's where we're at. I mean, just to get it black and white. So they propose the cuts to use the interim director's language that they feel like they can execute on, and the council needs to determine whether they feel like that's the case. And I think she's right. The city, I'll speak directly to MRPP. I know other members have experience on there, but the reality is we cannot maintain the parks for less than $3.3 million. Right. You just can't. The question is do you want to take the belief that an entity, whether it is the zoo, the Botanic Gardens, MRPP, is wasting city dollars and therefore they can do without $500,000? I personally don't think that is the case. I do think there are some other management agreements, and I didn't want to get into them, and I'm not going to, that need review, and I've expressed that to Chief Adams and the administration, and they're looking at that. But I stepped in because I just wanted to clean up, I think, some of the record on, to be specific, it's a management agreement. It stipulates an annual payment. The administration is within their right to propose something different. If we want it cleaned up, it's got to rest on this side of the dais. We will circulate the management agreement, and I'll see if I can get an abstract of basically the basic terms of like, and just to high level here, we redid the agreement 6 years ago, right before I got on the body, or 7 years ago, for a 13-year agreement to match the donor proceeds that were coming in order to give them comfort. And when we did that, for the first time, like 13 years, the city agreed to raise the fee they paid. That being said, that's where we are. Just to clean up.
This is just one organization. You're still looking at, the Brooks, you're looking at the zoo, looking at other agreements that we have. And, it seems to me that we can't just uniformly, negate those agreements that we have. And it seems like that's what you're asking us as a body to do. And I'm not comfortable with it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Person. Thank you for your comments, Dr. Warren.
Oh, no, and I thank you too. I think just in fairness, the director was put in a difficult spot to reiterate what the budget chairman has said. We were asking all the divisions to come in flat. And in fairness, the parks is not necessarily in terms of overall dollars, but in terms of just, to her point earlier, land mass and features and buildings, almost perhaps the largest of the divisions. So they have a lot of upkeep and maintenance. And so they were forced into positions to make decisions. I'm not saying they were forced into this one particular decision, but they were forced into making decisions about how
You got to put something forward.
allocate dollars.
I got it. Look,
And
I'll step in and
that's
help too.
So I agree.
Yeah, look.
I don't disagree with you, but
I'll
we're
step in
in a
and
tight
help.
spot.
There's other things in this budget that I've seen that I have not raised an eye, but I said sacred cows / priorities, and at the end, sacred meow. Sorry, I'm in here. I told him I wasn't working meow in. I think thanks for the one giggle. I think it's important to note though that, you can go spend $500,000 more on park. And I say you, I mean we, the body, right? Like, again, it's a matter of priorities. There are places in which you can go to the budget and say, I don't want to do that with cash this year. I'd rather do this, right? And so that is where we are barreling down into. But and I'll just say it very bluntly, but for a tax increase or an artificial increase in the revenue, meaning I could go to Chief Person and say, I saw your number at, what were you at, 848, 850, let's call it 850, $850 million is what he says theoretically that we're going to come in revenues. That's his expert opinion based on the city's trends and his years of experience. Whether we hit 850 or not now we think we're going to be close. I as a member of the body could say, you know what, I disagree. I think our revenues are going to be $855 million. And so now I've got $5 million more to spend in this year's budget. But if we miss, then we come out of unassigned fund balance. And so there's all sorts of ways to go about these priorities. But I will tell you, again, the directors were put in a very difficult position. They're putting it forward. I go back and keep looking down because I'm saying it's going to be this body that's going to have to determine what to do with the mayor's proposed budget and what we want the end result to be. But I am very grateful that was caught. Is this direct to that? I've got two other members in the queue, but I see Councilwoman.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and Councilwoman Logan? It's germane to this one thing.
Yes, the statement you just made, it's difficult for us to make that decision if you don't have true numbers, all the information. And I mentioned that yesterday, well, the last time we were here, that unless we have the information, we have what we have, so.
What do we say?
How
We
do you
make
speak to that in
educated
terms of
guesses on limited information.
What you're saying is, it's up to us on this side, but this is what we have. And I don't know what's behind the numbers. Not that anyone's fudging or anything like that, but for instance, when they were talking about attrition and keeping them in, well, it was because there's a need for those to stay there because they're used in other ways. Whether they're there in those for attrition or whether it's there for whatever that intended use is, it's still dollars that we don't, that has to come out of this pot of money. So that's where, aside from just cut 10% across the whole thing, everybody, every division, everywhere, that's, or some number, that's the only way we're going to get to where we need to be on our side because we can only deal with what we have.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Chairman Canale, Councilwoman Walker, and then Dr. Easter Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Allen, and you don't have to, if you don't have it with you right now, if you could maybe just email it to us later, but give us kind of an idea of what really creates or comprises the miscellaneous professional services line item. I see that we have a 5.2 proposed for FY26, but we think we're going to spend 9.2 in 25, and Back in '24, we spent 12.4. So
So those are our managed partners. We moved them out of our miscellaneous professional services out of admin. So
Okay.
that's why it looks so much lower, but I can get you.
will you send me or us
Yeah.
a list of what's left in for FY26?
Okay.
Not what you took out. I understand.
Okay.
I understand that now. So yeah, just
So FY26 miscellaneous professional services.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilwoman Walker, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, and thank you for your presentation. This 35,000 for a survey, is that possibly something that could be done in-house through communications, and we don't have to spend that? In the greater scheme of things, 35,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money, but still, every little bit helps. Is that possible?
Sure. So Amy Collier, interim deputy 2599 Avery. That funding is for the update for our playbook, which we formerly called Parks Master Plan. Our new Parks Master Plan cost us about $350,000 before, so we're moving nearly 100% of that work in-house, and that $35,000 is the only cost that we need for a consultant. And the reason that we can't do that in-house is because there's a company that provides a statistically valid survey. It's the same company that we used previously, and it's used by most park systems that will continue to sample until we get a representative demographic sample that we need to make sure that we're getting like a good amount of voices from Memphis. And so we'll use the same survey out and we'll put it online, but we tend to get middle and higher incomes back when we use an online survey versus the statistically valid survey that will make sure that we're getting all demographic areas.
Okay, and IT, I heard everything you just said, but IT couldn't help us with this either?
No, this is a very specialized survey.
Okay, thank you. I'm not done. So facilities management, where is that in this budget? Like maintaining the brick and mortars, the pavilions and things like that?
So your facilities are, that budget is actually in general services.
That's part of general services?
Yes, ma'am. General services maintains your building systems and of course your building envelope as well, which includes your parking, paving, et cetera. There is some contribution from parks in a lot of their paving areas, but for the most part, that is general services.
Okay, well, I guess I need to double back. My concern is when our citizens are paying for facilities and they don't have access to like heat in the winter, air in the summer, bathrooms year-round. There is an expectation in this society. So when people talk, I'm taking a sidebar here quickly. So when people talk about being expatriates, and I always say, you better check the infrastructure. Where you going? We take a lot of things for granted here. We're used to flipping switches and having lights and flushing toilets and all of that. And so these are normal expectations that we have in this society. And I am saddened that we're charging people for facilities and they may not have heat in the winter, or they may not have air in the summer, and they may not have access to bathrooms year-round. So I will double back and speak with general services.
Yes, ma'am. But I want to assure you that those issues, while we may have mechanical failure, building failure, I do believe that we do what we can within the resources to address. It is not to say that this budget won't be able to do that again. So to that end, I think more of it may be an internal performance. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about our response and our service delivery to the citizen. Because again, notwithstanding, there should be, that expectation should be met.
Okay, thank you. I yield the floor.
Those were great questions, Councilwoman, and just an unbelievably well-delivered quip. Dr. Easter Thomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Director Allen, Chief and Chief. So I want to just put on the record for wrap up. I'll be bringing a adjustment resolution to CIP for parks, and we talked about it, Director Allen, and also talked about it with the administration. On CIP where it says Memphis Parks, Ed Rice Community Center Banquet Edition, it's on there for FY27 recommendation 3.75 million. The resolution is going to ask that 3.75 million for FY27 is no longer allocated to Ed Rice Community Center Banquet Edition, but instead allocated to North Fraser Community Center renovation, the full 3.75 for FY27. My question is, before I say that finish, and maybe y'all can help. So since North Fraser is the only other community center in the whole neighborhood of Fraser, Ed Rice got a totally new center. North Fraser still has lights that make noise. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Okay, just like that. So the question is, since North Fraser wasn't, simpler question, is there an amount of that allocation that needs to go to FY26 to do an actual plan for what the renovations are going to be, or no? That's the question.
How much do we need for prelim design fees? 50 to 100K just to get going? Can we scrape it from from open projects?
Let me come back to with the number for that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to guess on that.
I mean,
one.
I can. Well, here I'll guess for you. In order to get going, to get just concept, to get drawings to get an order of magnitude, 200.
200.
I said 150. You're saying 2. I was close. Yeah, close enough. So you're 200K to get going. Are you going through Are you thinking through concepts or schematics, like a light schematic set? Bid documents. Yeah, 200 gets all the way to bid. Do you think it takes that long? What's the scope, do you think? You know what? We'll earmark 200 for now.
200.
We'll figure it out.
So take 200 from 3.75. So that means, or what? Or don't take 200.
Well, no, so what I was saying is let
right.
them see if they can go scrape.
Okay.
Because what I think what he's saying is ultimately 200 will get you to an actual bid set. Like you can go. You may not even be able to go that fast, and you may only need 100 to get through this fiscal year. You may need 200. Let them go, but we will follow up together.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we get the number back. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure they can at least scrape together part of that fee from something else.
I just want to make sure that when the
but it is noted for the record.
FY27 is ready, that we'll have it, and we'll have the resolution document for wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah, so just for me as a chair to stipulate for the record, make sure that the budget committee understands and for the administration's benefit. In FY27, we have a North Fraser project. The councilwoman from that district is requesting that some funding or an appropriate level of funding is allocated, or is going to bring a resolution if we can't square it away another way, to allocate the appropriate level of funding for design services to get to bid documents so that when July 1st of 2026 rolls around, we're able to execute the go forward on it and build the actual thing instead of start the design then.
Perfect.
I crushed that? Nice.
Perfect.
All right.
That's it, Chair.
Cool. And we'll make sure your absence is noted to me, and we'll make sure that the mechanics go. Thank you, Councilwoman. Dr. Warren.
Yes, I didn't realize we had CIP here, but.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and that's been me. So I'm going to say this. I'm the one that asked us not to get into much CIP, meaning on the info side, because it's the list. But please, any member can talk CIP.
Okay, I just have one question for the interim director. What sort of funding, and this may not be you, it's going to be a coordination between you and General Services, I think. CIP funding do we have for fixing the drainage that is going on in Overton Park, to where we've got sewage and, stormwater that are overflowing and stuff? Where is that in this budget that we've got that going?
Councilman, there is an active project currently working with General Services and Public Works to actually deal with that infrastructure.
And where is it in the budget?
That's not necessarily in the budget. That's actually routing through General Services, but also Public Works as a natural function of what they do. So I'll get you an update and a funding source as a break fix item that they're working through.
And
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure what routing means here. Does that mean that?
Funding routing.
Funding, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. And he, just again, remind us and the millions of people tuning in. Break fix is our emergency brake line. It broke. We have no choice. It's an emergency fix. They're not coming to us. They got to go. Cool. You guys have some information to get back. Councilman Spinoza?
I was just giving a thumbs up.
Oh, sorry.
I was just giving a thumbs up to Dr. Warren for bringing that up.
Yes, sir.
We see in the survey, that's, yeah, good stuff.
You guys have some info to get back. Look, Parks is a difficult one. We don't have to go through all the stats because we got to move on, but I recognize the amount of green space we're talking about taking care of, and then programmed and unprogrammed, and then it's a lot. I said in the beginning, it's just you guys are in that same boat. I will say, though, to Councilwoman Logan's point, with all of the moving pieces this year, both in the budget and the reorganization of how we're trying to rethink a leaner government operation, what I really heard in Councilman Warren's commentary that is a broader subject that I think we'll have another discussion outside of budget hearings is how do we as a body, I'm going to use the term accountable, but that's not really the term. It's accountable and oversight are heavy-handed terms. It's while divisions are learning to partner out of their silos, which I believe cross-utilization is it's a key thing that we need to be doing to drive this into the 21st century. How are we as the body going to work really with finance to understand the tracking of the money? Meaning, we'll talk more, but yeah, I don't want to get into 1,000 reports either. Like, no one's going to read them, but we have to have some way to discern. Take Southwest Twin. It's a CIP project. It's probably the simplest example. We had it in police for their precinct. We had it in library for their new branch. And then we were like, yeah, we consolidated. Now, I know we can't do that every time, but we may have to find a way on some of the larger initiatives to be like, okay, we did summer cutting for 60 days. And in District 7, for example, Public Works did $2 million worth of work. Public Service Corps did $500,000, whatever it is. I think we're going to have to find, you and I, the collective we are going to have to find a reporting path that is digestible for the public to understand that they're not getting less for certain areas of service. They're getting equal to or better because we are banding together, and we just have to have a way to articulate that. And I think we have to have a document at some point. Yeah, exactly. And again, I don't want to get into the weeds where it's like we have query SQLs coming every week of like stuff that no one's really diving into. That's not beneficial. Yeah. Good afternoon. It is 3:37 p.m. Wednesday, May 14th. The Budget Committee of the Memphis City Council is back in session, and we are on to Human Resources General Fund presentation. Welcome, Chief Fouché. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I am Fonda Fouché, Chief Human Resource Officer of 125 North Main, and I have my team here with me.
All right.
James Jones, HR Operations Finance Manager. 125 North Main, I'm sorry.
You guys just go titles.
Lynette Hall Lewis, 125 North Main.
And today we are here to present three funds, our general fund, our healthcare fund, and also our OPEB fund. We're going to start off with the general fund. But first, we do have our entire HR, will you move the slides from our entire HR org chart? Is there like, okay, there it is.
We're going to come up with a good name for her, but she's a little slow. Okay.
Our entire HR organization consists of 63 full-time employees. These employees support over 6,800 full-time employees, over 1,300 part-time employees, and over 5,800 retirees. And this just shows our HR division complement of 63, and I'm happy to say all our positions are filled. And our next slide is just the general fund org chart. We have 48 full-time employees in the general fund. And this is just the complement of the general fund. And like I said, all our positions are filled. So our total requested budget for the upcoming year is $10.15 million. We are remaining flat for FY26. Our key budget priorities are leadership development to include current leaders and emerging leaders. Also to continue to create strategies with divisions for hard to fill positions and to provide an improved employee and candidate experience. And then we're going to continue to create opportunities with our career pathways and Urban Fellows program. If you look over to the right, the breakdown of our major spending categories, 62% of the general fund budget is personnel expenses, and about 38% is dedicated to miscellaneous professional services. And so this chart shows our historic, just our budget comparison for year over year. Like I said, we are remaining flat for FY26. Our key budget drivers in the general fund are personnel costs, which are driven by 48 full-time employees and 20 part-time employees. Miscellaneous professional services remains a key driver. This is primarily due to promotional testing for police and fire, our OJ admin fees, employee development, recruitment and retention strategies, and career pathway programs. Also, our pre-employment medical examinations for police and fire. And then we have other expenses related to negotiations, impasse, salary surveys, tuition programs, and leave administration. Yes. Next up, our performance metrics. Right now, we do measure time to fill and our AP performance. Our time to fill goal is 50 days. But we are, one of our new initiatives for FY26 is that we are expanding our metrics to include an HR dashboard, which I will talk about in our new initiative slides. So our first new initiative we want to talk about is the leadership development that I mentioned earlier. This is to provide leadership development to our current leaders and identify emerging leaders across all divisions. The impact is to develop leadership capabilities at every level by providing knowledge and resources while preparing emerging leaders. And we plan to do that through like executive coaching, management one-on-one, and leadership development plans. Our second new initiative is we want to create 3 new career pathway programs to recruit and develop talent. And this will help us create a talent pipeline for critical roles that are hard to fill. And so we do have current programs. We have a goal path, which is our police radio dispatchers. We still have PSTs, urban fellows, but we are expanding to include an automotive technician career pathway, an animal tech pathway, also one for administrative services and for EMTs. Our next new initiative is the HR metrics dashboard that I mentioned. And the expected outcome is just performance accountability and improve the employee, retiree, and candidate experience. And to also, the impact would be transparency and improved customer service. And some of the things that we're adding, we do some of these already, like the invoices, time to fill, position control, but we're also adding retirements, number of safety incidents by divisions, compensation projects, our HR call center, and also employee investigations. So we're adding that to our dashboard. And our last new initiative is the Human Resource Business Partner Program revamp. This is to provide consistent administration of HR policies in all divisions. This will help reduce risk, ensure consistency, streamline processes, and for HR to have direct oversight. And that's it for my general fund. I'll pause here to see if we have any questions.
No, I don't. Mine are gonna come over the next two.
Right.
Next two rooms.
Right, the more exciting ones. Thank you, thank you.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, great. So next up, we have our health insurance fund. And in our health insurance fund, we have 11 full-time employees. And this is our HR healthcare fund complement. The 11 positions, all 11 positions are currently filled. So our total requested budget for the upcoming year is $107.7 million. Our key budget priorities is that we want to expand healthcare services at the Employee Health Center. And then we're also going to do a total rewards marketing and advertising campaign. If you look over at the pie chart on the right, the breakdown of our major spending is 80% of our healthcare fund budget is healthcare claims, 14% is in materials and supplies, and then 6% is in personnel services, but 4% of that is our HRA. If you look at our historical budget comparison, we do have an increase from FY25 to FY26. We'll be the proposed budget is roughly $10 million more than last year. That is due to an increase in our claims, primarily due to an increase in our claims, healthcare claims, also due to what we want to expand in the healthcare with the health center.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop right here because I think this one, not for too long, but you look at the trend. I'm gonna say this is a statement, but it's a statement / question, which is common for me. FY21, we were coming out of COVID still, and I think when you're talking claims, to be clear here, I think what we're talking about insurance claims, but what we're really seeing is the restart of elective procedures, et cetera.
Yes,
and I think that's important to note. For the record,
that is primary reason for the increase.
So when you smooth, to bring it full circle, so when you start to smooth it out, and we'll just call it a 3-year smoothing, even with a 4 or 5 year, if you did a 10-year smoothing, you'd see. But nonetheless, our run rate really is at call it 6.5, and then it creeps like it should normally, and then. But walk me through the real deviation. Let's just agree that our run rate's 7. Or was 7, you jumped 3 million, now you're jumping another 5 million. So you're 8 million, so to speak, over 2 years in aggregate increases. Is that all being driven by claims?
claims, more people joining the plan, also with our healthcare, the
When you say the
healthcare
plan,
center.
which one, well, do you want me to wait? Do you have that data
Mhm.
later? Yeah, let's
Yeah.
keep going then. I got it. I just wanted, I got two in the weeds, but I wanted to stipulate that for the slide before we came back to it. So let's keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So our key budget drivers for the health insurance fund is that healthcare claims are forecasted to increase by 18.4% over FY '25. And then also in our miscellaneous professional services, because we are wanting to expand our services at the employee health center. Those are the two biggest drivers. And so our key performance indicators that we will be used to measure success is that we want to increase utilization for employees at the employee health center. And then we're going to also focus on increasing wellness incentive redemptions, because we feel like an increase in participation means employees are actively engaged in their health care, and maybe that will help with us see a reduction in claims. So our first initiative for FY '26 in the Health Insurance Fund is expanding our employee health center services to include occupational health, physical therapy, and diabetes management. The expected outcome is to improve the health of our employees and to also reduce healthcare claims. And then our second initiative is a marketing and advertising campaign. We just want to increase employee awareness of the healthcare incentives and benefits that we offer, and we feel like increased employment engagement will have a reduction in healthcare claims. And one of the things that we want to focus on is the Total Rewards website, and just making sure that all employees know about all the great benefits and incentives that we offer. So our challenges and risk, like healthcare claims costs, because we are forecasted to increase by 18.4%. That is our challenge for this year. Our mitigation services is to offer additional services to our employees to manage healthcare costs, employ strategies to increase engagement in chronic condition management programs, and like I said, our advertising and marketing campaign to promote wellness benefits and wellness incentives. We will not have a premium increase for FY '26, but claims are trending up, upward nationwide. It's a nationwide trend because more people are now going to do those elective procedures that they probably had on hold now that we're post-COVID. So, any questions?
I've got a couple just broad comments in general. One thing I do want to see that when you're speaking, and I meant to, this has come up before, and I don't really know how to way to articulate it quantitatively. So I'll do my best, and we'll see if we get there. And again, these are not immediate for me. These are probably broader, more downline initiatives. We have tons of partner benefits in our Total Rewards program, which are meaning they're non-cash to the city, but they're a benefit to our employees, right? Between our vendors, et cetera, our administrators, whatever. So I can't count that in what I'm going to ask you. And it may be a nothing burger, but what I'm getting at is everyone as a human being is incentivized in different ways. I had the chance to sit on the healthcare committee one season. While I'm not a doctor, I read our healthcare coverage all the time in my other day job. I'm very curious to know if I were to take advantage of the totality of all of our benefits as an individual employee, no family, what the cash benefit to me and the cost to the city would be. And if you'd want, I'd love to see that too. If a partner, it's kind of dumb, because it's like $50 here. I mean, I'd love to see the bigger stuff. And if you guys snap up an intern or a fellow that's looking for some.
So we're actually looking to hire an urban fellow this summer.
Perfect.
To help us.
You need one.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. You know this as well as I do. You're one of the places that the city can go to in times of need and looking lean, because it's a matter of choices. Now, it's an art and science is what I'm really saying, right? Like you mentioned a very important thing. The city is going to absorb all of the premium increases. I would typically have said, no, but because we're not offering
Right.
raises, which is really what the raise does is absorb some of the premium costs. You can't double whammy your people, you know? So I do get that. The reason I asked the question about the benefit for me is I'm really curious to know when we talk about, I don't think it's going to pay off. I mean, I don't think the numbers are going to be in my favor. But you've got a subset of our employee group, you have a sample of our employee population that have children, right? Most of the time, here we tell you they're younger in employment, so they're not going to drag on the healthcare system. Or yes, they're family. Yes, they've got family healthcare. But ultimately, from an employee incentive, it's childcare is the kicker, right? Like that's like maybe the last great like benefit an employer can give these days, other than just mad bonuses. Bringing a word back from the early 2000s. Mad bonuses. Thanks for calling. Fist bump that. My Gen Z legislative analyst loves to tell me my dad mode all the time. So my question to you, though, just to move this on, so because I got Councilwoman Green in the queue, and I need to be respectful of that. My legitimate question is this: is I'm curious to know in what ways we can look at elective opportunities for people to basically say, look, I know I could take advantage of this, this, and this is the cost benefit of that. What if I basically had an elective? It would be almost an internal savings account, so to speak, that you could dictate. Instead of me taking advantage of these wellness programs, I would like to use the city's money to go and pay for internal or external childcare. This is a bigger subject. You know that. You guys have been talking about this since Alex was here.
So for FY26, 2 initiatives that we're going to pilot a family care option.
Okay.
That includes elder care and child care for our dispatchers because they work so many shifts.
Yeah.
So we're piloting that, and then also we are looking at a lifestyle spending account.
Yeah, that's where I love that. That's a great name.
So we're also.
I want a lifestyle spending account.
So that's also something that we're looking at for FY26.
Yeah, I mean, you see we've talked about it a little bit. Alex and I talked about it a ton. You see every major employer going that direction. When we have these conversations about the MIT living wage calculator, and I don't want to get into that specifically, but let's just use that as the standard in which we are, at least for me, I am often spoken to about as the litmus test. A decent way to try and augment that may be going at childcare a different way for some when you're looking at, and again, I don't want to assume that everyone is in need of I'll call it mid-elementary and down childcare. Obviously, you've got children in different spots, but I just think yeah, you guys are studying it. I'm glad you're working on it. I think you're on the right track. I hope you get.
Yeah, our total rewards officer is really excited about the lifestyle spending account.
Cool. I can't wait to hear more about it myself. I like your total rewards officer. They're always there for me. All right, Councilwoman Green, thank you for being patient with me.
No, let's have a conversation about childcare is not a benefit, it's infrastructure. I'm here for it. And I would say the other big piece that employers could offer, especially to young parents, is flexible work. That's a thing that's still out there, being able to work from home. And we've learned that we can do it in the pandemic, so.
I didn't do it very well.
And I will say, we actually did do a pilot, and we were continuing it on the county side for a child care stipend, and it was open across the board. There wasn't like a litmus test for if you made less than $45,000 or anything like that, or if you worked in a certain, and it's been wildly successful and very well received and all of that. So, and I believe it was like $200 a month, so it doesn't cover everything, but that's $2,400 at the end of the year that, goes to something. So I am interested in all the incentives and the rewards and the health center and sort of the data that we're collecting around it to see what actually is effective, because like the goal of all of this, of course, is that we have less claims and that people are healthy. So, I think about like, I've been in the weeds because I've been in county government since COVID times, right? And, we gave away cards for people, like Kroger cards for people to go get their COVID shot. There's the tobacco cessation classes, right? And like, so you watch a video online and then people keep smoking. So, something's maybe not as effective. So what kind of data are we collecting around what we're offering, the cost versus the benefit? Like, are we seeing it on the back end? Because it looks like we're predicted, and I think this is probably a prediction across the board. It's not City of Memphis. We're predicted to have so many more claims when we offer all of these incentives and benefits, but we're not seeing less claims.
So I'd like to talk about that. So I look at it in two ways, one being engagement and then the other cost containment. So when we think about engagement, so some of the things that we're incentivizing the employees to do, go get your biometrics, find out if you have a silent killer of high blood pressure or diabetes. And I can actually say that I have been at sessions where somebody has been transported to the emergency room because they were stroke level. And so to me, that's a win. That's an avoided cost.
Was it a council member during budget season?
But I mean,
maybe if you're juggling two budgets at once, I'm just saying.
But to me, I mean, that's like something tangible that I can speak to in terms of an avoided stroke, because then once that happens, we know about the hospitalization and the aftermath of that. So our thought process is if we can get you engaged in your health, we can prevent some of these chronic conditions. We can prevent a catastrophic event, medical event. So that's one thing. The clinic, what it does for us is it gives access to our employees to get engaged in their health through chronic condition management like the diabetes. I mean, we live in Memphis and we know that that is something that's not just, it's definitely prevalent in our community. And it's just giving access to that employee that might not even have a primary care physician. But while you're there for the sniffles, did you know, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, that your glucose is high? Let's get you engaged in,
Yeah, I just think it's important for us to try to track some sort of data. And it's again, for my work on the other side of the street, I know that there are a large percentage of Memphians that do not have a regular primary care physician, right? And they use emergency rooms, they use Regional 1, or they use health clinics. They don't have a regular physician. And that is especially problematic in a population where, the three leading causes, like you said, diabetes, heart disease, and obesity can lead to more chronic conditions, which can lead to hospitalizations and really high claims on health insurance. So I understand like the principle of it. I'm just making sure that we are doing some sort of measuring, because like maybe we offer gym memberships and Chase loves it and he's going all the time to Hot Works. I don't know. But if that's working, wonderful, right? And if we can measure that that person is utilizing it and they're having less claims. But if we're just offering it and we're not seeing the back end return on it, then maybe we need to be engaging in something else. So I'm just making sure that we're collecting the data. And I know sometimes it's so hard because you're in the work and you're doing it and you're just trying to be like, well, maybe they'll be interested in their health if we do this, or if we do this, or if we have that here and we're more present. That we take a step back every now and then and evaluate the effectiveness and say, that program's working, that program's not.
We definitely do track utilization, and we provide those updates during our quarterly healthcare committee meetings. So we do track utilization in terms of who's going to the clinic, the demographic. We also watch to see utilization in terms of people getting their incentives. So it helps for you to get the flu shot. I mean, we try to incentivize those things that we know that are preventive, that can, like the good doctor says, an ounce of prevention is worth.
I know, it's so
But
hard.
yes, we can continue that conversation, but we do kind of try to track and go out to the locations. I think about if you look in the elevator, it's telling you right now, they're going to the solid waste locations, the public works. They're going to the police precincts and bringing it to the employees. And so we're trying to touch them in multiple ways and avenues. And like I said, when we have even like behavioral health is embedded in the clinic. So you could be there for your, sniffles, but if you're also having some symptoms of depression, that can be addressed there as well. So we are trying to just make sure that we provide the utmost support to the employees and try and meet them where they are. But
on the claims and that increase that we're, expected to see, the 18.4% that's mentioned in your slide deck, I know Budget Chair Carlisle mentioned that there are a lot more people that are doing elective things than there were, but there's also increased just cost of healthcare, right? And that's kind of baked in there, so it's a both and. What is our percentage of pay on the employee healthcare benefit, and has it changed over the years? Do you know?
You mean the cost share for the premium?
Yes.
Yeah, it's roughly 70-30. It moves. It's different for select and joint, but it's like 66 or 68%, something like that. Employer
There's
employee.
somebody coming up with a paper. It feels like he might have the answer.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, I throw that out there as something, like you mentioned, you can't go up on their claims when you're not giving them a raise. Just making sure we're looking at that percentage of share as well, and that we're maybe looking at peer cities and what they're doing as well in this hugely inflationary environment. So I just throw that out there as another budget solution for you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, great points. That's one of the things that I was indicating. We've talked about it in the past. That is probably the hardest balancing act between when you're looking at employee retention and recruitment. Especially now, I read a really interesting article about Gen Z in the Wall Street Journal about they've switched, whereas millennials, and you saw it 5-6 years ago, we saw it in our own talent pool of younger people applying for jobs. Before COVID, they were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about public service, which is awesome. Like, that's great. Like, we have people in our office today that are, incredible resumes. They could go get jobs for higher pay, but they're here because they love the work that they do. Gen Z, however, it's funny when you see the cycles coming out of the recession, et cetera, care about benefits and pay. That's all they care about. So, again, you guys are not in an envied position. Dr. Warren is in the queue.
Thank you. I'd like to invite anybody who would like to come and join us at the Healthcare Oversight Committee when we meet. But one of the things that I think is really hard to do, and Councilwoman Green, you brought this up, tracking. We're tracking things that are accumulating over decades. And one of the things that we know, and I think that was brought out very well, getting that employee the flu shot keeps them at work and keeps them safe. All of these things, we can give you what it does for a population that gets it and compare it. So we know we can do that. Individually tracking our employees would be hard, but we have to take what's been measured over time in large populations and apply those same principles to our employees to try to keep them healthy. So part of the idea is we know if you get your cholesterol down and we control your diabetes, you're going to be less likely to have a stroke or a heart attack. So we may not be able to tell you how many heart attacks we saved, but we do know in the general population, we'll be providing our employees a benefit. So I think that's the issue. It's a little bit harder to track because it occurs over a long period of time. One of the major reasons that we're seeing a big raise in expenses is pharmaceuticals. And that has to do with Ozempic, Mounjaro, and all of these medications that actually have been shown to decrease your risk of stroke, decrease your risk of heart attack, decrease your dementia, stop your sleep apnea, get you, so all of these things that are going to keep people out on work, we're paying for to keep them on the job with these medications. And hopefully what we'll see is some sort of ability of the pharmaceutical industry to lower those prices to where more people who need them can get them. But I think we've talked about trying to use our buying power as a large employer, and we've not really been able to get any sort of movement from pharmaceutical companies to help us with that. I'm shocked. Okay, well, just to go with it. But thank you guys for presentation and the good work and keep it going. Thank you.
Yeah, great points, Dr. Warren. I look forward to a longitudinal study on the cost of healthcare, since there is, I don't want to say you can buy, I mean, you can buy your way out of cancer, et cetera, but when you look at, because you sit on that committee, when you look at our prescription drug cost, the top three heavy hitters are hypertension and it's two treat hypertension and one treats.
No, it's diabetes.
Diabetes, then
diabetes, and then you have biologicals, which are, and those are ones for people, and we don't have a ton of employees with this, but if you've got lupus,
Yeah,
you got
that's
rheumatoid
right.
arthritis, if you got something that you need some of these biological agents that you're being injected with, those are big cost drugs, but they keep the people at work.
But the question is, and this goes back to, and I'll get off of this because it's more of a fun debate, but it's important because it will be interesting for the world, to be honest, is if people are willing and able, do you front load as both an underwriter or a carrier rather, and an employer, do you front load hundreds of dollars or really but like do you front load tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars to help people stay at healthy, safe weights early on and save in the back end care that is so expensive in the healthcare model? And that will be, I think, the longitudinal study, assuming that everybody doesn't end up with, a tumor coming out of their, So, what do you think?
Just assuming that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. All right.
I have one more fund.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it on the insurance fund. But and one last thing. Yes, we are also, the firm that I work at is also self-insured. We have absorbed every year somewhere between 12 to 13, 4 years ago, now up to 16 to 20 in healthcare. Full stop. It's painful. All right. OPEB it is.
So next up is OPEB. In the OPEB fund, we have 4 full-time employees. And this is just our complement slide. Again, all our positions are filled. Our total requested budget for the OPEB fund is $35.5 million. Our key budget priorities are to offer a retiree health program that provides meaningful healthcare options, to remain fiscally responsible in managing OPEB liability, provide ongoing well-being support and tools to retirees, enhance customer service and efficiency for all benefit matters for retirees and their dependents. If you look to the pie chart on the right, our spending breakdown, 63% of the OPEB budget is healthcare claims, 22% is personnel services, but 17% of that is where our HRA is housed. And then the rest is just miscellaneous, the contribution to the fund, material supplies, et cetera. So our historical budget comparison, there is an increase, a slight increase from FY25 to FY26. And this is due to more, of course, healthcare claims, and then also more retirees joining the plan from police and fire. And again, our key budget drivers are the increasing of in the number of retirees joining the plan, and also an increase in our healthcare claims. This year, for FY25, we had 1,021 participants on the plan, and for FY26, we'll have approximately 1,100, a little over 1,100. So our new initiatives for the OPEB fund, we want to host a retiree appreciation and wellness fair. We just want to increase retiree awareness of health services, benefits, and programs, and also to increase engagement to promote healthier lifestyles.
You're going to have to prove that one when it comes around.
You said what?
To prove that works. The cost that, look, I want to appreciate people on the way out the door, but if the purpose is convince them to have a healthier lifestyle, I think when they're retired, I think they've made their mind up by that point, but I hear you.
But no, really, we really want to push our retirees and their dependents to really
down the stair,
to utilize our health center.
No, look, I'm with you. I'm somewhat serious. That one for me, kind of a common theme. I'm so excited for what it's worth that you are you are doing everything within your power to find avenues and opportunities, and I'm very supportive of those. So it is a common theme of like, this is very interesting. Like, thank God you're bringing these ideas and solutions, and your team are tracking them down. Again, data on the back end will be very interesting. I want to be optimistic.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, if we were fan dueling it, I'd be betting against you, but we'll see.
And our next initiative is to increase the health center utilization for retirees and their dependents. And we're just hoping increased utilization will see a reduction in healthcare claims. Our challenges and risks for the OPEB fund is that we are forecasted to see a 15.2% increase in healthcare claims costs. We plan to mitigate that by balancing spending and managing OPEB costs as we offer additional services to our retirees, to employ strategies to increase employment engagement in chronic condition management programs, employ strategies to increase employee health center utilization, and also an advertising and marketing campaign to promote benefits and wellness incentives. And that's it for OPEB.
Awesome. I think most of that fell under the insurance fund questions. I will say you've touched on the employee health center. I'll get Jeff in a second. Yeah, but yes, I'm actually a bad player in that space as well. I mean, it is an underutilized thing, and but admittedly, my anxiety will overwhelm me if I don't if I have a feel for like what the process is. Like even I walk by the clinic at City Hall all the time, right? I think I've been in there one time.
Have you been to the one on our new one on Poplar?
I haven't. I think Spinoza has, and maybe a few other members. Yeah. It's right. Well, it's right. Well, it's closer to my house. But you're downtown. You're in Fraser. I mean, you're right above down. But yes, the thing is getting back to it is your plan for communication. I think and engagement, kind of like Total Rewards, making that easier to navigate on the internal consumer side. I think will help for engagement in general for me. Because, and again, I'll just speak anecdotally for me, and then I need to shut up because I talked way too much today. I've got 3 school-age children, and I'm married. My ability and time to like dive in and read these things, like I need to be able to get information as fast as possible or as easy as possible, because if I can't get it in those 2 minutes, by the time I get back to it, it's 2 weeks later. And one of the things is that easy access and understanding. And I'm not saying that it's been hard per se, but I know that we can get better at it.
There is some improvement, especially with our website. And also that's the reason for us hiring Urban Fellow, is because we want to know, like, what's the best way to communicate now? You know,
for sure.
You know, outside of email and mailers, you know, people aren't reading, you know, to keep them engaged. What other tactics could we use?
And your older population set through retiree, right? Even here are going to communicate differently. Like we were talking about our paper and color printing spend. Like, unfortunately, like that's the way it's going to go for that older set. Like we're going to have to send them 8 mailers for one initiative.
Right. Well, for our new employee.
Right. But yes, look, I've taken way too much time. I've got Dr. Warren in the queue, and then Dr. Easter Thomas.
I think this is one of the places where having those clinics and getting our retirees in easily when they have small problems and getting them to focus, even if what we do is send them back to their primary care and say, you need to do this, get that appointment. That's where we're going to keep some of these bills down. And hopefully it's going to be worth the 8 mailers. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Dr. East Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. And we kind of hinted to this at the overall overview of like just the messaging and communication. It's under my opinion that we should just inundate the heck out of folks, annoy them to that they are actually going to call the numbers on there and look at the stuff. Because like if people get paid twice a month, you should at least get an email twice a month on your payday. That's, okay, your health insurance came out. You need to know what your health insurance is about, the incentives you got, the stuff you can use. Don't gripe about it. Have you something that you can, you know, that, oh, okay, this came out, but I also have all of these incentives to take advantage of. I think that we also can text our folks, our employees. We can blow them up through a text message. We can also call them. Have you used your stuff this year? Are you going to use it? It's flu season. It's summertime. How's your asthma looking? Like just annoying the heck out of folks. And then maybe, maybe the stuff that, because it's cheaper than the mailer, right? And still do our mailers for people, but the stuff that we can that's like a really low price point, like a campaign. Like this is a save money on healthcare campaign. So how can we pinch our pennies, as Councilwoman Walker was saying earlier? Every little bit counts. So if we can just annoy the heck out of people to where they want to call and get their wellness thing, and then they get that $25 gift card. I didn't even know you could do that. I said, I'll go to the dentist, and then I go on there, and now I can get a 20. Now I can go get some. What's our favorite? Walker. Get some hot wings. Right after I leave the dentist. Right because I did this. So that's just. Just people, we're checking our emails from the city of Memphis. I know that our healthcare stuff, we don't get the stuff often. But just seeing it more may put in our minds, maybe this is something we need to be looking at. Stuff in the bathrooms. I know we have stuff in the elevators, stuff in the bathrooms, just everywhere. Plastic everywhere. Oh, you said it.
Yeah, I mean, on the initiative, no, but she's right, on the initiatives too, like the annoyance, I don't call it annoying, the friendly reminders are important because like it'll catch you, it's again, in the restaurant sector, we're trying to catch that impulse buy, we're trying to catch that accretive upsell. And the only way we're able to do that is to inundate you, to try and snag you, And so, look, I can see just by your presentation and the amount of initiatives that are relatively cost neutral, and I think they almost all are by just looking at your budget for the most part. You were exploring every opportunity with your team, and so I'll just reiterate that. And I'm very appreciative for it. Like, guys, a lot of these, some of these may not work. That's the point. Like, some are going to work, some aren't, and the fact that they're just plugging away, I have a deep appreciation for it. So thank you. Go home.
Thank you.
Go back to your offices. All right. We're going to recess for a couple minutes here and allow our judges to get set up and comfortable, and then we'll come back into session, and I'll gavel the judges. Thank you. We're in recess. All right, we're making it. We are, the Budget Committee of the Memphis City Council is back in session. It is Wednesday, May 14th, 4:23 p.m. And we are here to hear the division of the city court judges. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Judge Chandler, 201 Poplar, room LL06, Memphis, Tennessee.
And Judge, is your title chief? What is you're the lead or chief judge? Administrator. Thank you. I just want to make sure I got that correct for the record. Thank you, Judge. And just fair warning again, she lags a little bit.
The judicial branch of the courts, there are three judges elected by the citizens of Memphis. Judge Kenya Hooks, Division 1, Judge Veronica Cooper, Division 2, and myself, Division 3. And I also serve as the administrative judge for the Memphis Municipal City Courts. Next slide. We have a complement of 5, and the positions are filled currently. Next slide. Slow.
Your budget's relatively simple. Yeah. But yes, ma'am. But I'd love for you to go to your slide 9. It's all right. Let's go to slide 9 and talk about your initiatives, because you've got something in here I think you may want to talk about and looks very interesting. It's basically implementing the hybrid court.
Yes, trying to implement a hybrid court to make it easier for citizens to appear. We're pretty much a shift town, and when you make it easier for the citizens to appear or the defendants to appear by giving them options and trying to work with IT on options. But those are things that are being discussed now.
Well, I couldn't agree, Judge Chandler, I couldn't agree with you more. And if as you and the judges and the administration go through this process, or however you guys are running the process, as meaningful updates come forward or as you roll it out, I know that many council members like myself would love to hear how that's going, because you're absolutely right. Any way that we can bring court, like Southbrook was having night session courts, I think, for a period of time right before COVID. I don't know that those have restarted or whatever it is, in order to take the courtroom outside of having people have to come downtown. At least me personally, I think is a very helpful thing. So I'm glad that you guys are exploring that.
We are exploring, but the thing is, most people have cell phones, and they can pull up on the cell phones. The goal is to make it extremely convenient where the city doesn't have to utilize funds for brick and mortar places outside of the court system. Next slide. The key challenges that we find the courts are facing right now is the lease agreement, to my knowledge, has not been signed with the city and the county, and they have asked that we are out of the building, out of 201 by, I believe it's the end of the year. However, the city charter also states that the city courts are to be housed at 201 Poplar. So those are issues that the courts are faced with, and it leaves us in kind of
Yes, ma'am. That's
because the city can't have a government without the 3 branches.
Yes, ma'am.
3 co-equal branches of government.
Understood. I agree. That's interesting. Hard to work through that. Judge Chandler, thank you. I've got Councilwoman or Vice Chairwoman Swearingen Washington. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And I should have asked permission to say this initially, but I just wanted to offer our condolences on behalf of the City Council. We know that you lost your sister. You buried your sister last week, and we appreciate you coming in, and we are most appreciative of your leadership. And we just want you to know that our prayers are with you and with your family. Thank you, Chair. I yield.
Thank you very much. And just one correction, she was my first cousin. Our fathers were siblings, but we are like siblings. We grew up, very closely. Thank you.
Very sorry for your loss, Judge.
Thank you.
Colleagues, any other? Oh, yes, Dr. East Thomas.
Councilwoman Green told me to open up this can of worms. Can you explain what's going on with the lease? Why y'all are being moved? Did I miss something?
I'll defer to the judge, but ultimately her commentary was the lease at this time, at this date, has not been signed. We didn't get into the details of why they have not arranged an agreement, so I'll defer to the judge. You just press it and you leave it on.
Right. I have to defer to the city real estate CAO as to why, because oftentimes the courts are also left out of discussions regarding the locations of the courts.
Are you directly involved in it? Indirectly. And yeah, well then hang tight. Can we put a pin in that and bring it back?
Okay.
I'm with you.
Questions.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I just, because it's operational, Walter's going to kind of talk to it, but because you've got a significant amount of questions, I'd rather just get the people in the room at the time. Let's see if we can do that. Let's look at the agenda Tuesday and see if we can get it on the agenda Tuesday in somebody's, it's not going to be in mine. We're going to put it in government affairs or general service. Who's got general service? I mean, you guys work it out. They ain't coming to me. Judge Chandler, thank you for your time. Appreciate you and what you all do. And truly, thank you. Appreciate it.
No, thank you very much, and I appreciate each and every one of you.
All right, we're going to stay in, and we've got the city court clerk's office coming up.
We wanted to thank Mr. Sane for coming down and wearing that pink tie today. We appreciate his.
Good looking tie. I don't throw out empty compliments. Welcome, welcome. All right, everybody, we are rolling into the city court clerk. If we have names and titles for the record, please.
Sakita Johnson, City Court Clerk.
Michael Sane, Chief Deputy Court Clerk.
All right, y'all take it away.
So our budget is is flat for this year. We have 3 legal levels under our service center. Well, 3 service centers on our legal level. 870101, 870201, and 870203. Our authorized complement is 58. We have 5 vacancies right now, 1 in our photo enforcement area and the other 4 in the city court clerk's office. Our key budget priorities are, this year we have the court documents and ticket management system that the contract expires in November. We are in the process of working on the RFP for that. We're finalizing the implementation of the speed enforcement. We changed vendors in January, so we're finalizing that. The old vendor has removed the cameras and we're getting the new cameras installed. Well, we're signing the agreement so we can get new cameras installed. And the other key priority is trying to digitize our court records so we can prevent the overcrowding in our storage facility. Yes. Well, we had an incident where we had shared space with Shelby County, and we were evicted from there, so we had to move all those documents. It was about 8,000 tons of documents that we had to move. Again, our budget is flat. We have a difference in our personnel expenses and materials and supplies, about 136,000, but that's a wash that give us an even flat budget for FY 26. The key drivers for our budget for FY 26 will be, as the judges mentioned, we have a potential relocation in the mid fiscal year. We have a lease that expires in 201 Poplar, effective December 31st.
It's already expired.
It already expired.
It's expired. They didn't sign the agreement to renew it.
Okay. So we have a notice to vacate on December 31st, 2025. So this is an anticipated increase in our expenses. We also have anticipated increase for the external costs for the new court reporting and ticket management system. An explanation of the changes in positive statement for neutral budget. The Division of City Court Clerk has submitted a balanced and neutral budget that maintains the court services, supports court administrations, and reflects a strong commitment to the responsible stewardship of public funds. Through strategic cost control and process efficiencies, we can meet our obligations without requesting additional funds, all while continuing to serve the citizens of Memphis with excellence and integrity. The City Court Clerk desires to improve our level of service for our citizens, visitors, and employees by implementing a court that operates in a real-time, upgrade payment processes, and provide online public access to the courts and court records. That goes to the point that Judge Chandler was talking about the hybrid courts and trying to implement virtual court. The City Court Clerk FY 25 payment collections during quarters 1 through 3 were nearly 7% above FY 24 payment collections at the same fiscal year marker. This budget will allow us to provide never before online public access and simplified payment methods, which will significantly increase payment collections for FY 26. I don't have any payment the proposed new and budding initiatives, new court document and ticket management system that I explained. The current contract will expire in November of 2025. Approximately 5% of the budget will go towards this initiative. We expect it to roll out to be in November of 2025. This initiative will improve how the city interacts with the community through its courts, i.e. the virtual courts that we'll be able to implement with the new system. The City Court Clerk expects that this initiative will create more accessible courts, make it easier for the public to resolve their traffic and parking citations, allow public access to court records, and increase revenue for the city of Memphis. The key challenges that we're going to face is the separation of the court clerk office and traffic violations bureau, filling vacant positions, restructuring the division to create essential positions. And the service demands complicated payment methods and no online public access currently. Relocation of the main office out of 201 and frequent document and information requests. Economic conditions, getting an accurate reflection of the revenue collected by the office to efficiently measure performance and set a performance metrics. Currently, our appropriation statement does not accurately reflect all the funds that we collect. So we want to make sure that that's accurately reflected, all the dollars that the city court clerk collects, regardless of where it's paid out to. We just want to show.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. I mean, I think, yeah, you're spot on. I mean, absolutely. A lot of hard work. You want to make sure we're tracking it. I've got 3 members in the queue. Councilwoman Green, Walker, and then Vice Chair Swearingen Washington. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you, Chair. I am glad to see your total revenues. It looks like the adopted budget was 4 million, and your forecast is over 4.6. And then in one of your notes, you note that the collections through quarters 1 through 3 of FY25 were nearly 7% above FY24. I'm confused why you flattened that line back out to 4 million instead of a more accurate number, unless you're expecting to collect less.
We're as I just mentioned, our revenues are not accurately reflected on our appropriation statement. So in the effort to make sure that our budget would stay flat, that was the reason why the revenues were not calculated as possible, because we cannot get the numbers.
So they are up, or you don't know if they're up?
No, they are.
Okay, so currently we had to reach out to the auditor, who found a suspense account which houses the court fines and fees that we collect through our office. In that suspense account, it's at 6 million. So we are already collecting more than what's on that budget, which is why we're saying.
So again, that's why I'm saying it sounds like you're doing great. It also sounds like 4 million for your revenues is not a proper number.
I agree, and we have asked for it to be corrected, which has not happened.
Okay. What do you think your proposed FY26 revenues will be?
Including the revenues from speed camera and red light, it should be at 8 million.
Okay, so 8 million, that makes a huge difference in our budget. The difference in 4 million and 8 million is a big difference for us. So that's why I'm asking for accurate numbers there. Perhaps, hopefully, CFO, we can get some actuals before we pass budget, because an extra $4 million in revenue is a lot of things we can do in this city, whether it's raises or cutting more grass, et cetera. How are we doing on amnesty programs? I know we ran one early the start of last budget year, and then you ran another one. How are we doing on collecting the old fines and fees from traffic citations?
Well, those revenues are constant. Bringing in those revenues are constant. We were thinking a new amnesty program that targets the tickets between 5 and 10 years old may be effective in bringing in more revenue. And also extending the amnesty program that we have from July to December, which targets the tickets that are 10 years and older, having that year round.
It's been a year since I looked at these numbers, but it felt like we had over 50 million in unpaid fines and tickets. Does that ring a bell with you?
Well,
like going back.
Unofficially.
Yeah.
Because technically the tickets that are 10 years or older are outside of statute of limitations. So we can't make effective collection efforts on those.
Right, but they're still there. That debt is still owed to us.
They're still there because the state said it doesn't go away.
Right.
But we can't do collections on those tickets that are older than 10 years. But currently the tickets that are in collections that we've sent to our attorney to collect, we're at 1 million and we're at 1.1 million for tickets that are between 90 days and 10 years old. And that's 5,051 tickets. And those are traffic tickets. We don't have reports to determine parking tickets.
But how much is actually owed? It's great that we've collected $1 million plus, but do you know how much is owed for the 90 days to 10 years?
That's what's owed on the traffic tickets for that amount.
That's all that's owed is 1 million?
On traffic tickets.
The balance is going to be your
parking is
tickets.
different. Yeah.
Okay, well, I would suggest that, again, I think this time of year is good when people are paying attention to, what's going on with our budget. I also think right after tax season, when everybody gets their check, is a great time to run an amnesty program.
No.
No. Like when you get your refund check. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I was just saying, because of FEMA's sweet rule this year, nobody in Tennessee has to file their
That's right.
taxes until November.
You don't have to do it till November. That's right. I've totally forgotten that, Chase.
I would disagree on that point. That's the time where we bring in the most money because people have the money.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're on the same page.
Okay.
Because you have so much outstanding debt that's been out there for years and years. This is a good time for us to remind people that they need to do their part and step up and pay their parking fines and traffic fees. Thank you, Chair. I have nothing further. I do want to say, though, we need updated real revenues on this in particular, because $4 million difference is not a small difference. Thank you.
All right. And then after Chief Person, we've got Councilwoman Walker, Vice Chair, Superintendent Washington, and Dr. Warren. Chief Person, when you are ready, sir.
Okay, thank you. Walter Person, 125 North Main again. So there are two different issues. There's a suspense account issue, which is an accounting issue which we are working through. But then there's also revenues that are generated by the clerk's office that have historically been flowing to unallocated revenues. So we'll have to probably parse out those two because, pardon me? Our category of unallocated revenues, so those revenues are collected by the clerk's office, but they've never been attributed to the clerk's office. They've always been attributed to unallocated. Well, one is historical precedent, and two is the fact that there's a mixture of revenues that are collected in the clerk's office. There's, of course, revenues that belong to the city of Memphis, but there are also state and Shelby County related revenues that are collected on behalf of the clerk's office from court costs.
Where in our budget book is that? Like what department would unallocated
It would be
revenues be?
in your budget book under court clerk office, but then if you want to look at unallocated, you'll see in the unallocated section of general revenues, there'll be lines that speak to fines and forfeitures, and it's encapsulated in that along with other fees.
But it's in her section.
Yes.
Look, they're both saying no, and you're saying yes. So
It is,
I'm just
it
making
is,
sure.
but I'm saying, I agree that there's a suspense account issue, and I've seen some email traffic along that line, so that is something that's being cleared up. But I think the larger issue is related to unallocated revenues that are flowing into those accounts.
So how do we wrap up the year end then?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and it says fines and forfeitures $4 million. It's not. There's not anything that says unallocated.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jerry on this. So we're required, this is, again, one of those great statement questions. We are required by law to balance the budget at the end of every year.
Right.
Any overages that were not approved in the budget that we have not allocated to expenses must be basically assigned to the unassigned, or to a fund balance, right? Are we stipulating here that the fund, the account in question is basically acting as a fund? Is that what's, I mean, am I, in a way, because we don't have an accounting of it?
Well, it's not that it's not an accounting of it. It's just that even back to my days in the clerk's office, there are revenues that have been parsed out.
Right.
And unfortunately, I'm too far removed now to give you the treatment.
When we clean, and some of it's been
And
cleaned up,
I'm not being funny, but
No.
I can't give you the treatment that it deserves, but I will be able to come back with that. But there are revenues that flow to the clerk's office,
Right.
but there are also other revenues that flow to unallocated, and it's always been that way. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that it's always been that way.
Sure.
And I can give you more information in detail
Yeah, I'm just more
about
curious about it.
the background related to that.
Understood. Councilwoman Green. Thank you. Councilwoman Walker.
Excuse me, if you just give me 1 second.
Yes, Judge.
And I think all the clerk is asking for, all the revenue collected by the clerk's office, that the clerk's office is given credit for that somewhere.
Yeah, and
And
here's
that's-
what we are
right.
too. Yeah, we want the same thing. What
Right,
What we
right,
want
right.
to do is make sure that, yeah, we're on the same page.
Right,
Yes, ma'am.
just making sure, trying to make it very plain and clear.
And we view the clerk as a part of us, and we want all that revenue too. Thank you, Judge. Councilwoman Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on page 4, number 3, digitizing court records to resolve storage and overcrowding. Oh my God, okay. So it is the information that I have received. So in 21, the city built a new state-of-the-art fire station, number 23 on Holmes Road. Next door is the old fire station, literally next door. On the carport side are a bunch of boxes, and I'm told that the boxes belong to the city court clerk. And I wanted to know, how can you get your boxes so you can digitize? It says here, digitize court records to resolve storage overcrowding. And this fire station has good bones. It's a good building. It has good bones, and I want to repurpose this building, but I need to get these boxes of your records out of there. It could be used as a drop yard for trash. It could be used for animal services. With respect to animal services, Whitehaven and Fraser have the greatest need. So this could be used for animal services and some other uses. And I know that this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the budget, but I'll follow up with you all offline. But can you all come and get your boxes and digitize up as you're stating in number 3 here?
Okay, so with the digitizing, it's gonna cost money. So my plan, in order to do the updating and digitizing within the budget and the less cost-effective way, is to find a court reporting system. And I haven't been able to do that until now because it was an IT contract, and I was told I couldn't cancel it. So now that we're drafting an RFP, the plan is to find a court management system that allows us to scan documents into that system. Once we get that, we can have the employees scan the citations instead of hiring an outside company to scan the citations. So once we get the court management system, we'll have employees scan the citations into the system. The books would have to be located somewhere else because they would need to be unbound and then scanned, and we would have to have that done by a third-party company.
So do you all have anywhere to store these boxes in the meantime?
Excuse me?
Do you all have anywhere to store the boxes in the meantime? I mean,
We're paying a storage facility, Ewing, and we're paying them $24,000 a year, and we're at our max with that storage. That's why they gave us the firehouse. 24,000 a year.
So you don't have anywhere else to put these boxes?
No, we barely have space for personnel, so we don't have a building to put them in because we're getting moved out of 201 Poplar. There's no storage space in there. We don't even have a break room. So it's either the firehouse or the storage facility.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a fixable problem.
Okay, thank you. I yield the floor.
This is a fixable problem.
Okay, thank you. I yield the floor.
Yes, ma'am. That is great questions, Councilman Walker.
It's got good bones. It's got good bones.
And it can't be the only asset we have, right? I mean, we've got buildings all over the place. I'm not saying they're all in great shape, but to suffice for secure storage, you know. And I do remember that. I remember Myron was the clerk at the time when we did I remember that whole situation. And we're starting the process. And to your point, the theory hopefully is, other than what is legally required of us to keep, we can scan, digitize, and downsize, and then burn, shred, all of that. Because I also know that you guys have run into issues. I'm sure the judges have at different times producing documents as necessary or needed when that's difficult. So, but Councilwoman Walker is right, and if I hope we don't have to get involved, but I hope that General Services and you all can find something in the near term. That seems like a very fixable problem. And if not, I'm sure that council, yes, ma'am.
Quickly, if I may. So I have talked to I don't mean to refer to him by his first name, but Melvin with General Services. I've spoken with Chief Adams, and I'm trying to find a home for these boxes. Thank you. I yield the floor.
You have the council's full support, I have no doubt. Vice Chair Swearingen Washington.
Thank you, Chair. And I know at one time we were spending more money with those red light cameras. What are we doing to adjust that expense?
Red light camera, are we spending more, or was it speed? Oh, it was speed camera. We
Yes,
were
for the
spending
speed
more.
cameras. What are
We
we
no
doing
longer
to
have
adjust
that
that?
vendor. We have a new vendor, and once we finish the contract, we'll be able to start back with speed enforcement. That vendor, we were spending way more than we were collecting, and with the new vendor, that expense will be reduced.
Okay. What creative ways can we do to be able to get some of the fees of driving expenses that occurred, let's say 5 years or 10 years? How can we edit our amnesty program so that that can be beneficial to the city? What suggestions do you all have?
I think I kind of mentioned it earlier, where if we do half off for tickets that are between 5 and 10 years, that'll give people the incentive to go ahead and pay those tickets. Right now, we only do them if they're over 10 years, and we only do it from July to December.
So if we do it from 5 to 10 years, and then what other suggestion do you have?
Well, the one that's where over 10 years, where we technically can't collect, we do it for the whole year. Then that would give people more time to pay them. And also, the state requires a payment plan. So drive while you pay. And if we allow them, because currently if they get on the drive while you pay program, they have to put the tickets on there for the full amount.
Okay.
So if we change it to where the reduced amount goes on the drive while you pay plan, then that would help people out a lot as well.
So we need to request a reduced amount for the drive while you pay program.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other suggestions?
As far as collecting fees, I think the new court system with allowing, there are many vendors, but we're going to put it out for RFP. But one of the requirements we're asking is that the vendor that comes forward with the court management system allows virtual court, and I think that will drastically increase our.
So you all don't have
collections.
virtual court right now?
No.
But you are suggesting that we have virtual court, and you believe that that will do what?
Drastically increase our fees, because there are some people who refuse to come to court, to 201 Poplar.
Okay.
They just refuse. So if they could tune in and pay their fees online and don't ever have to come downtown, then they're more willing to pay them. We also have out-of-state people who are just coming through. They're not going to come back here to address the tickets.
What do we do? What do we need to do to make that happen, Judge, to institute a virtual court to give people options? Because I can realize that people don't have the money to pay for parking. They don't have, the means, the time to get on here. But if we can get them to still go to court and to pay some of these fees, it would be very beneficial to the city. What do we need to do to try to move that forward?
It's just a matter of working with IT and the media team to get the word out. Once we have it set up, that people have the opportunity, and also the clerk's office, they have to have a complement of people who can schedule the virtual court. And I don't think they have it, and I'm not sure if you have it in your personnel complement, a specific person or persons to be able to schedule that, because it can't just happen. You have to have somebody working, so we'll know how many people will be appearing virtually. So it's a few moving parts, but it can be done.
And it would be financially beneficial for the city.
Absolutely, not just for the city, but the citizens of Memphis, who, one, as you said, don't want to come to 201. The elderly, my thoughts are having in the libraries. Computers are already in the libraries. And just being able, if seniors who don't have computers at home or people who don't have computers at home can go to a public library and sign in and just make it more convenient for them.
Well,
and
that's all-
easier to pay. Also, if there's a fine that needs to be paid, have kiosks in different locations.
Well, you all are the experts, and that's definitely what we want to do, to be able to pick your brains to see what we can do to make it to be more convenient for our constituents so that they can pay their fines. It will be beneficial to the city. So you have the council's full support, and we'll continue to work with you to see how we can move forward on that. Chair, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think great questions, great feedback. The one thing that I would add, and I've always been hesitant about it, I mean, I've been very clear about my position on punishing people out of economic opportunity. But one of the things that may be a worthy study that you don't have time for, but we've got to find a way to make time, meaning we may need to send somebody your way to help within the city, is what I would call our repeat offender bad actors, right? So you do have people that will have speeding tickets, obviously if they reach a felony level or whatever, but I don't know enough about the legal system, misdemeanor, et cetera, but to where if somebody has 4 speeding tickets, if you have the legal ability to take them up a charge, but really it goes back to collections. If I've got somebody on there that's got 1 or 2 fender benders, the last thing that I want to do is harm their ability, which is why we like the programs, pay as you drive. But if I've got somebody that's got 15 speeding tickets out there, or they've got egregious speeding tickets, three just right under maybe what would have been a potential reckless charge, I have no problem turning them over to a debt collection agency. So I wonder if there is not an opportunity for some sort of selective study to go after, if you've got a response to that, hop on in.
No,
This is
I
a
was just
dialogue.
going to say,
Yeah.
currently our collections is done by an attorney, and
Right.
that contract is a legal contract.
Yeah, what I'm saying to you though is you have an attorney doing it. I'm saying you're going to sell your debt and you're going to a firm. That's what I'm saying. So if I've got $50 million of outstanding debt, I'm going to sell it for 10 cents on the dollar, and that person is now going to get hounded.
I agree.
I don't want to do that to our average. Yes, what I'm saying is we're on the same page. I want us to study and see if we can find a trend analysis that will justify monetizing some of that outstanding debt. But I'm not going, and I'm unwilling, me personally, unwilling to punish people out of economic opportunity. And for me, there's a difference between somebody that made a mistake or was late for work or sped 60 miles an hour to a budget hearing that they were late for today and didn't get caught, thank goodness. Those individuals deserve a break. And Judge Chandler, I'm sure, and her colleagues are able to adjudicate a lot of that. But there are people that just come down the line and maybe something happens. On the flip side, they're just jerks. Put them. I'm okay to turn the screws, and what I'm saying to you is I want to figure out if there's a trend analysis there that justifies that. We may come back and say it's 1% are bad actors that we would want to turn the screws to, and it's like, maybe that's not worth it. What I don't know is I don't know, and I'd like to know that, Judge.
What also can happen as far as the judges, we check records and we deal with it that way. But in other jurisdictions and other cities, there are more means when people, cars are booted, cars are towed, cars, and I'm not saying, and like you, I hate to see people come in court and they show up because their car's gotten towed. And that's the only reason they come, and then they have thousands of dollars worth of fines, and they want the courts or the judges to reduce those fines. But I think something needs to be in place prior to, and the clerk's office has in the past, they can run for the parties who owe thousands of dollars to the city and just try to collect, collect those monies. But not for people who just have 1 or 2.
Yeah, and I think, and I understand, having one legal contract with a small attorney's office is one thing, and then having, again, because that's a one time, I don't know what our setup is, but I assume it's a slow go and it's a percentage save versus saying, hey, look, we're going to stack 10 years worth of debt and we're going to sell it and we're going to make 20 million bucks this year. The problem again is that we all collectively don't want to have citizens hounded by debt collectors. And you're in a tricky spot. And I want to try and help us through that through some, see if we can drive the data. One last question, then I need to go back to the queue and keep us moving. It's for Chief Person. It's a legal question on state statute. Actually, maybe for you, Clerk. Is there any law that says we cannot discharge? I mean, it's again, it doesn't matter because we're not a private business, but mainly just we carry it on the books. But at some point, does the city have the legal authority to choose to discharge the debt? Meaning, in my world, we write it off as just bad debt expense. This money's not coming in, we carry it on the books. I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, in the private sector, we do it because we want the expense off we want to take it against our taxable income. This is mainly just to say, let's just stop talking about it and write it off and call it a day. So that it just doesn't hang. I'm just curious if there's any statute that prohibits us or that
there's no statute that expressly prohibits us, but there's no statute that enables it either.
Yeah.
And we don't have a bad debt allowance that is structured. But to your point, that's why after 10 years, they don't allow you to collect it. So in some sense, you could make an argument for that, but we don't have a structure.
Well, because at that point you can't even, because you can't report it. It's a liability, and you can't even report it as an asset because there's no receivable at that point. So it really is a de facto. Yeah, it's written off.
Right. And then the other thing is, years past, the clerk would have to present to the administrative judge a docket of tickets that weren't collected, and we had to dismiss them, and that's one way to remove the cost.
Interesting.
And the administrative judge would have to sign off on that.
Are you volunteering for that this year?
Judge, I won't put you on the spot. If that's going to be one of the duties of the administrative judge, then yes, I'll do the duties. But I think the clerk, if given and working in conjunction with other people to the amnesty programs, just see how that works.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, Councilman Dr. Warren and then Chairman Canale.
I guess my concern just listening is that we've got notice to leave 201 Poplar. And, my concern is I don't see what we've got in place for that. I see the virtual court as a good idea. I'd like to ask administration to be thinking about other buildings that we have that may be refurbished, such as the fire station that Councilwoman Walker was talking about. Do we have other places that would be suitable that would provide parking? Like a lot of our fire stations that are out there that could be refurbished have parking lots. There are places people can come to and get to. So I don't know, is it important for you guys to be in 201?
Well, as I stated earlier, the city charter says that the city courts are to be housed in 201 Poplar.
So do we have to change the charter?
So there needs to be a charter change. The second point is
who is your landlord at 201 Poplar?
The Shelby County.
So Shelby County.
Right, but
I'm just saying, Councilwoman Green, go ahead.
We haven't had a signed lease in years, and I think the original was just a gentleman's agreement or handshake.
That's really the rub, is there's not any written contract, and there hasn't been, and I don't believe there's been any rent paid in these years. Do you know?
Yeah, it's been rent paid to Shelby County, quite a lot. But as I'm understanding, quite a lot of monies in rent for the spaces that we use, because it's not just the courts, it's the call center 911 that was just rehab.
Is that coming out of your budget?
It's the 911 call center is coming out of the police budget.
And what about your rent? Where does that come from?
Out of the police budget also. They take care of all our rent. But the thing, and I suggested to the real estate department, their buildings, because the courts need to be in this urban area, and their buildings, and I don't know where you all stand with it, the old Memphis Police Precinct. which is, I noticed a few weeks ago was being used open for the film, whatever film they're filming here. And that could house the courts. And I had suggested before they sold it for the hotel, the boutique hotel, that the first floor be turned into a police museum, and that would have been right next door to the fire museum, and the courts are already courts there, and the clerk's office and certain departments could have been housed there. And I don't know if that's still a possibility, that's still something the council could look at. And if the Shelby County really wants us out, then the city is gonna have to find somewhere for us to be housed.
I guess
because-
that's my concern is, Mr. Persons, do you have any comment on, I guess this is not really your bailiwick, it could be more general services?
I guess if I could, mainly because I'm happy for Chief Persons to weigh in, but yes, again, we're getting outside kind of the scope of budget back into the scope of operations, and
Well,
so.
I mean, this is gonna be part of the budget
It's not,
though, right?
though. It's not, it's not, it is and it isn't. It is negligible in the grand scheme of the budget, but again, I've been talking a lot. Chief Person can answer it. What I don't want to do is we're not going to solve the lease issue here today. That's the kicker. It's like we can sit here and talk about
I guess as we look at it, the lease issue will affect the budget as we go forward. But I'll back off that question.
No,
for
but
you, Mr. Chair.
Chief Person can answer. I'm just saying my point is like, here's what we know. We know that our lease is over at 201 Poplar. They've asked us to vacate the building. We need to figure out.
I thought we didn't have a lease though.
So by de facto, it's called holding over. And but for in the state of Tennessee, and but for a written lease, and almost in every written lease, there is a holding over period. But if it is not in there, the state recognizes the tenant's possession. And not to get down into the weeds, long story short, as long as I, the tenant, without any explicit holding over language, continue to make my lease payments to my landlord, they have to recognize my rights under the law. Now, there is a process to get me out of there, but we are in, again, what is termed as holding over. All of that being said, for fun discussion, back to the budget, at the end of the day, yes, they are going to have some sort of occupational expense. We don't know what it is. We need to get that answered. They are not doing the deal. General Services is going to do that deal. Walter can give us a heads up, but again, it sounds like Director Jameson, and this is what I don't want to get into, is because we have 3 or 4 other line items, the best thing to do is to bring those in the Public Works General Services Committee, because there are so many real estate deals going on that are tangential to the budget, but they are not direct. I wouldn't call this a direct, what's the term I'm looking for? It's de minimis in an $850 million budget. That's the kicker, yeah.
Okay, well, everything smaller amounts are all.
It's de minimis.
Yeah, okay.
It is $50,000. All right, I love you to death. It's the end of the week. I'm not trying to be short with you. I understand every penny counts, but 50 to 150 grand a year is what I would call sunk cost, because it's a required operational cost, and there's literally nothing we can do about it, whether it's a mortgage cost, a lease expense, whatever it is.
Well, I guess my point is we got to have them have a place to work. So that's all I'm saying. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair Canale.
Thank you, Chairman. Clerk, may I recommend that, I know you said that you either have issued or are going to issue an RFP for a new system.
Yes, I'm working on drafting the statement of work right now.
Could I make the recommendation that you work alongside or at the guidance of Chief Keene? So he's making a concerted effort to consolidate and integrate our systems, whereas he walked into quite a mess of all these separate systems that didn't talk to each other. They weren't integrated, and trying to, as we work towards becoming a smart city, that would just be my request to you, is that if you could seek his advice or guidance on what it would be the best system to use, so that we can become more of an integrated, so our systems do talk, so we know where everything is.
Yes, I plan
Thank you.
to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look, you guys have also a tough job, and the fact that, again, you work in the economic and demographic, socially economic demographic environment that we work in which we have an aging, we have an aging fleet on the road. We have cars that are beat up. We have a population that needs desperate economic opportunity, and they've got to pay fines and for it. It is not, an envious position. But I appreciate you guys continuing to look for opportunities to produce revenue and collect on those fees while trying to be sensitive to what you're dealing with. Like, you guys are down at the courthouse every day. I mean, you're seeing what's going on. So with that, I appreciate you. I'll let you out of here. We are going to follow up with General Services. To Dr. Warren's point, I'd love to follow up to Vice Chair Swearingen Washington on some of the initiatives you guys are doing and how you guys are coordinating that. And when I mean follow up, I'd love to see you guys kind of back maybe in a couple months and maybe 3 or 4 months, and just for like a short update or even like a quick email. Hey, good to see you guys in June, May. This is what we've been up to on those things. Because I think for us too, for court clerk, you guys are not in our building and you kind of just doing your jobs, but it's nice to know what you guys are up to too. So every now and then, just touch base with us. Sure. Appreciate you. Yes, ma'am. Vice Chair Swearingen Washington.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask Mr. Saint, who was his children's 4th grade teacher?
The most outstanding lady I've ever known to teach 4th grade.
Raise this for everybody. You guys have a lovely weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We are going to recess out for just a minute while City Council, or the Legislative Division rather, gets set up. We are in recess.
Wait, do we have to?
Colleagues, if you'll make your way to the dais, if you're interested in your own budget. Raises for everyone. The Budget Committee of the Memphis City Council is hereby called back into session. It is 5:19, Wednesday, May 14th. Names and titles for the record, please.
My name is Brooke Hyman. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the Memphis City Council.
My name is Ford Canale. I'm the chairman of the Memphis City Council. My address is 125 North Main. I spend more time here than I do in my own home.
100% agree.
All right. Chief Hyman.
Okay, I want to get straight into our org charts. Before in August of 2023, we underwent a restructuring, and we further refined that restructuring. We have a full-fledged legal division with our council attorney, our assistant council attorney, our chairperson, all of the members, as well as a chief administrative officer, deputy. We have a wonderful senior analyst, as well as an additional 11 legislative analysts on our team. And, by default, everybody on this body serves at the will of the people, so they are our ultimate boss.
That's what Sam Walton said, too.
And so a breakdown of our materials and supplies and personnel, a majority of our expenditures come from material and supplies. We're using those funds to increase engagement, produce a fiscally responsible budget, encourage constituent services, codification review, as well as Memphis Center legislative priorities. So along with that codification review, we are, as we've stated previously, this is a rollover project. We are going article by article, section by section, restructuring our code. So you guys have seen a few things. I believe on Tuesday, we have one of those codifications coming up. We recodify the liquor section, and so that is on the agenda for Tuesday, and it's a part of that ongoing project. Historically, you can see what our budget is. I do want to draw attention to, we have an overage, but that is also for the codification project. We rolled over those funds and we'll continue to roll them over because it is a lengthy and expensive process. For each section, we have to go through and pull every ordinance that's ever been written and ensure that it is correct so that we can recodify it and make sure that it's in line. We're also have made a request of the IT division and legal division. We're going to hopefully in the next year begin to digitize our ordinances so that they are easily found for staff, for the public. And so in the spirit of being a smart city, we reached out to the two divisions that we work with the most on those issues. So that is something we are hoping to include within our codification project. And so those funds are already included in our budget and a part of our materials and supplies to continue next year. On to our authorized complement, we are fully staffed. 31 people, each of you is a joy. We have 13 analysts, a grants administrator, our receptionist and slash everything.
Den mother.
Yes, our chief security officer, and then you guys are also included in our complement as well as the assistant council attorney and the attorney. So that is how we make up our 31 positions. There are 13 members, 18 support staff. And so moving forward, the key budget drivers that we have, our personnel costs, our authorized complement has remained the same at 31. We will continue the codification process. As I said, it's a multi-year project, and we hope to expand it this year with the IT and legal division to ensure that we have those things available online. Whenever we need an ordinance, we work through with council records. And council records as well, so that would include the finance division. So we've made some changes so that we could keep a neutral budget. Like every other budget, we received a 15% cut in our professional services. And so with our wonderful staff, we have taken in-house some of our communications ventures, Charity and Ivy are working on that. And so a lot of the training things we've done outside, Ashley has spearheaded that with Meredith. So a lot of things that we were using outside help with, we have brought in-house because we have a wonderful staff. And if you do want to give us raises, that's great. And so, no.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad to hear that there's no questions. You can adjourn us out of here.
Councilman Walker.
So the raises, would that include, Miss, gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Yeah, Miss Trudy.
Absolutely,
and
she'd be
Miss
first.
Val and Officer Wright.
Young.
What the?
Yes.
He's Officer Right because he always thinks he's right.
He is right, Young.
Yes.
Officer Young, and I yield the floor.
Look, I was being facetious. We're budget neutral, but if you guys want
So
to,
I think what you're looking for is if that's the will of the
if
body.
that's the will of the body,
There you go.
I'll draw it up.
Councilman Green.
On the community engagement piece, I know I've had conversations with multiple council members about when we go out and do things. You guys are fantastic about, bringing our materials and whatnot. But sometimes people might want to bring a snack or are we building that into our community engagement budget, or are we just gonna I've done these things and just taken it out of my own pocketbook, but
So that is something that if at the will of the body, we can explore a fund, but it would be for a year. Once it's gone, it's gone. So right now we've been allowing, the chairman has allowed requests and approved them. We've had people have different requests and he's approved almost all of them.
And thank you again for the Mother's Room on behalf of me and Dr. Easter Thomas. We appreciate your, and all the members. We appreciate your support of that. But I just, if it was not such an ad hoc basis,
We can look at that.
I just, as we think about community engagement, it might make it easier on some council members.
Could be built into what we have. We wouldn't have to increase our budget, but we could get a policy out for you guys to outline how much you get in the and the proper way to request it of the chairman. That it would not be difficult at all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other questions, comments for colleagues? Well, since I've made general comments for every division, Chief Hyman, thank you so much for all the work that you do and your staff and the team does, both forward but mainly behind the scenes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Vice Chairwoman JSW.
I just wanted to thank Chairman Ford Canale. We appreciate your leadership. You're so fair and you're very intentional. And I am just honored to be able to serve under you.
I feel the same way about you.
Yes.
It's a true honor to be here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And
Amen.
we appreciate the
Man,
way
it's just so nice
your
to have
leadership with the staff. And I feel like we have one of the most phenomenal staffs
Absolutely.
in city government.
Absolutely.
I really do.
That's why
We
everybody
appreciate
steals them from us.
We do. We appreciate each and every staff member, and we thank you for your leadership. And Deputy Ashley, you all really do a tremendous job, and we just don't want it to go unnoticed. Thank you for everything that you do.
Anytime.
I yield the floor. Thank
Well
you, Chair.
said, Vice Chairwoman. And on that positive, incredible note, we are officially through budget hearings. Now we start budget season. So here's just, again, I'm saying this in the microphone for the public. We are now through all of the division hearings. We are taking Monday off. Yes, well, not really. We're through the impasse committee hearings. We have, so that's where I was going. So for everyone listening in the public, for the record, and members, we are not convening tomorrow or Friday. And we are not convening Monday because Tuesday, as you know, can be an extraordinarily long day going in when you have everybody at the table. So as far as process, what will happen, and Chief Hyman, correct me if I'm wrong, we will hear on Tuesday the recommendations via resolution. A resolution will be introduced that will be voted on to be adopted into the budget after you hear the impasse hearings. Once that resolution is ratified, we can proceed with the actual wrap up because we can't do that until the number's set. And that's the mechanism. So the body's got to set that number to work from. It does not mean, however, don't work on your resolutions and get them ready to go, because for me, I am really hoping, and I know many members I've heard have been working on them. I'm hoping Wednesday is gangbusters day. I'll probably suspend the rules on the front end, depending on how many resolutions get introduced so that we can get them in and logged and calendared. So that being said, we are off as a budget hearing committee until Wednesday morning. We will reconvene as a body for a regularly scheduled committee Tuesday and a regularly scheduled council meeting 4 p.m. Tuesday. I am praying that we can have a very productive Wednesday. It is a shaky year, and so I'm hoping that we can still move to a successful budget by the 10th. That requires all of us ready to come in again with our sacred meows and get those things squared away. I really, I'm rambling, but I'll be succinct. I do not want to convene this body to stare at each other and send everyone home like we did last year. That was my fault and my mistake for letting that happen. So that's the hope.
What time Wednesday?
2 p.m. 2 p.m. All right. Yes, ma'am.
For the impasse, if there are additions to the budget, please get with your staff because they have the template for us to add that to the budget in an ag cut kind of situation. So all those things will still have to be incorporated through resolution.
Yeah, and again, the key to that was to the housekeeping. We don't want to stop any member from exercising their duly elected obligations and opportunities. But from a housekeeping standpoint, on paper, we need those resolutions so that finance and our staff can track them so that we get that you, the member, get what you want out of that budget